Chapter 369. The opportunity was here. Seeing the golden electric eel rush down, Qin Feng's eyes burned. He had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. However, the golden electric eel was just too fast. It was rather difficult for him to lock onto a Class 5 nebula beast like the golden electric eel with his Sea of Reincarnation realm spiritual perception. Qin Feng circulated his newly reborn spiritual perception with all his might. The golden electric eel was slippery as it darted through the heavenly river like a faint golden electric eel. The golden electric eel was already heavily injured, and this was not even its peak speed. Qin Feng infused his internal heaven and earth powers into the primordial chaos heaven-earth cannon. Qin Feng took a deep breath and calmly circulated his spiritual perception to calculate the golden electric eel's escape trajectory. At the same time, more than 10 powerful spiritual perceptions swept over from upstream. Qin Feng knew that he only had one chance. If he missed, the golden electric eel would escape from his vision. It would be impossible to chase after it. Now is the time. Suddenly, Qin Feng's eyes flashed like lightning. At the instant his spiritual perception captured the faint golden lightning, Qin Feng injected nearly 1/50th of the Yuan Qi in the chaos heavens into his palm. Boom! The primordial chaos heaven-earth cannon instantly blasted out. The resplendent golden beam was dazzling as it blasted out like a bolt of lightning. The surging golden beam streaked across space, and wherever it passed, the world seemed to be destroyed. At the next moment, it accurately struck the abdomen of a rapidly flashing golden electric eel in the heavenly river. It hit. Qin Feng's eyes lit up. Immediately following that, an extremely terrifying and violent energy blasted out from the golden electric eel's abdomen. The violent and devastating energy instantly tore through the golden electric eel's abdomen. The raging and unstable energy began to produce a series of explosions. The violent energy swept through the golden electric eel's scales like a whirlwind. Many of its flesh and blood were completely torn apart and vaporized by the terrifying explosion. The violent energy seemed to have a scorching heat. It was a terrifying energy that could cause calamity and decay. The exposed organs in the golden electric eel's abdomen melted under the scorching heat. Some of the protective golden divine lightning withered under the calamity and decay aura, completely losing its ability to protect it. Bang! 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 From the outside, it looked as if the golden electric eel had exploded with a loud bang. 2 pieces of flesh flew out, and several Class 4 nebula beasts that were rushing down from upstream were like sharks that smelled blood. They flew up and devoured a part of the golden electric eel's blood essence. Among them, the red flame centipede, the single-horned dragon python, and the 3-tailed silver scorpion still had a hint of gold on their bodies. It seemed like their strength had increased tremendously, and they now possessed a part of the Class 5 gold nebula beast strength. A large portion of the essence Qi was condensed under the laws of the galaxy, turning into a golden spirit bead that flew towards Qin Feng. In the next moment it entered Qin Feng's body. Damn it! He actually killed the golden electric eel in one hit! What a great bargain! In the upper reaches, several strong spiritual senses that were almost tangible glanced at Qin Feng in a somewhat unfriendly manner. After a while, they retreated resentfully. Feeling the few gazes retreat, Qin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, the golden spirit bead condensed from killing the golden electric eel had completely fused into Qin Feng's body. As a copious amount of pure golden stellar essence fused into his body, Qin Feng instantly felt a painful swelling sensation in his meridians. The void true power in his divine sea rapidly floated up, and in just 3 seconds, it had risen by 3 times. At the same time, the liquid void true power in his divine sea was still expanding. The stellar essence Qi contained within the golden spirit bead was just too massive. The stellar essence Qi that the Class 5 gold nebula beast gave back after being killed far exceeded Qin Feng's imagination. Rumble! The entire divine sea was quaking, and it was about to be filled to the brim. Qin Feng hurriedly mobilized the chaos heavens as he constantly extracted the void's powers. According to the method of condensing chakra meridians in the art of the primordial star, the boundless void's powers contained massive amounts of void true power beneath the divine sea. Silently, a chakra meridian appeared beneath the divine sea. This was the first chakra meridian. At the instant this chakra meridian was formed, the true power in his meridians was instantly sucked dry. At the same time, the true power in his divine sea decreased once again, returning to its original thin layer. But with the formation of this spatial chakra meridian, Qin Feng's insights into the void immediately increased by another level. With the help of this layer of void's powers as a medium, Qin Feng had a more direct understanding of the origins of the stellar heavenly cycle. The void was a medium, but in fact, Qin Feng's origins were still the stellar heavenly cycle. This was an extremely mystical insight. At the same time, a golden stellar essence appeared in Qin Feng's spirit platform. It was a golden bolt of lightning. Amidst the lightning, Qin Feng seemed to see a mighty force that could split the heavens and earth apart. Extreme yang, boundless light. Golden divine lightning. This was an extremely terrifying lightning. If one could completely master it, they might be able to harm a martial arts powerhouse. This golden stellar essence directly merged with Qin Feng's soul. Qin Feng's soul seemed to be infected with a layer of golden divine light. After 10 breaths, Qin Feng opened his eyes and moved his palm slightly. Rumble! A golden radiance shot out, and the sound of thunder exploded in the void. The entire void seemed to be split apart by the golden lightning. What a powerful divine lightning! Qin Feng's expression changed. At this moment, Qin Feng's expression suddenly changed. At this moment, there was an endless stream of beasts coming from the upper reaches. This time, there weren't any Class 5 gold nebula beasts, but there were a few Class 4 silver nebula beasts. The nimble beasts were different from the other silver nebula beasts, which were shining with soft spots of light. Qin Feng continued to operate the mixed-element heaven and earth cannon. At this moment, the mixed-element heaven and earth cannon had once again merged with the power of the chaos divine lightning. It was even more powerful, and had been upgraded to the mixed-element heaven and earth divine lightning cannon. With one shot, some Class 4 silver nebula beasts were severely injured. There were also a large number of Class 1 and Class 2 nebula beasts that died, providing Qin Feng with a large amount of stellar essence. Just as Qin Feng was reaping a great harvest, some people were unusually depressed. At this moment, at the lower reaches, on a star that was more remote, hundreds of All Stars College's prodigies were in a formation and were bitterly swallowing the stellar water. Hundreds of All Stars College's prodigies worked together and formed a huge nebula whirlpool. Countless stellar water was swallowed in. In the center of the formation, there were 4 to 5 Sea of Reincarnation Realm prodigies who were continuously operating the mixed-element void cannon. Rumble! Huge waves exploded in the heavenly river one after another. Often, hundreds of Class 2 nebula beasts would explode with a single shot, turning into dense stellar essence. There were even strands of heterochromatic stellar essence that were swallowed by a few Sea of Reincarnation Realm prodigies. Not long after, a translucent and resplendent pattern condensed on one of the Sea of Reincarnation Realm prodigies. This was the phenomenon of condensing a spatial spirit vein. Her aura surged. She was the current pavilion master of the Sky Sea Pavilion. She was peerless and had a domineering aura. When she opened her eyes, there was a cold air that could freeze the void. Witnessing this scene, some of the All Stars College's prodigies, who were originally proud and thought that they had obtained great benefits, had bitter and gloomy expressions. At this moment, many of the prodigies finally understood the true intentions of the top 10 battle teams. Without a doubt, they had become the chess pieces of these Sea of Reincarnation Realm prodigies. They were their porters, carrying the stellar water for them to replenish their true force so that they could frequently use the mixed-element void cannon. Some of the prodigies were furious, unwilling, and even more regretful. Some tried to withdraw from the formation in an attempt to reap the benefits alone. However, those who withdrew from the formation had all turned into corpses and disappeared. Within the formation, Bai Yun and Yun Mo looked at each other. Their beautiful faces were filled with indescribable regret. Seeing the appearance of the starlight spirit tide that was hard to come by in 1,000 years, but being restricted here, they could only miss out on such a great opportunity. It was truly a great regret in life. Bitter regret for suppressing the golden thread year after year to make a wedding dress for others. This is the 4th update. Tomorrow will be the 4th update. Chapter 370. We have to think of a way to leave the battle formation. Otherwise, all our efforts will be in vain. Some of the members of the top 10 battle teams were dissatisfied. This was a one-sided exploitation. Although the experts of the top 10 battle teams managed to obtain some benefits, they were still inferior to those geniuses who were working alone. The leaders of the top 10 battle teams didn't care about the others' unscrupulous behavior. They were determined to exploit everyone and obtain benefit. I'm afraid it won't work. The leaders are all experts in the sea of reincarnation. We don't have the ability to leave by ourselves. The person who transmitted the message was Lin Fei. She was communicating with Yi Qinghua, Xuelian, and the others in private. The beautiful girl was wearing a yellow palace dress. Her beautiful face was slightly ugly. The leaders of the top 10 battle teams were too greedy. They were the elites of the top 10 battle teams, but they were being cruelly exploited. We have to think of a way to get help. I have a good relationship with senior brother Lin Shou, senior brother Jiang Hua, and senior sister Qiu Shuang from the Xingchen School's Kuemu Peak. However, the disciples of the Kuemu Peak all went upstream with them. Jean Rui sighed inwardly. I also have a good relationship with the senior brothers of the D Earth Peak. However, we are too far upstream. We can't ask for help. Bai Yun's expression changed. He suddenly transmitted his voice. I just saw junior brother Qin Feng. He is not far away from us. Qin Feng? The genius's expressions changed. Qin Feng was famous in the All-Stars College. He was the head of the Azure Dragon Institute and the chief alchemist of the Medicine King Hall. Who didn't know about him? If Qin Feng was willing to help, even the leaders of the top 10 battle teams couldn't ignore him. However, everyone's expression quickly became awkward. They were just mocking and ridiculing Qin Feng. Now that they were asking for help, they felt embarrassed. Moreover, they were worried that Qin Feng wouldn't go against the leaders of the top 10 battle teams for them. While they were communicating telepathically, they didn't know that this scene was being observed by the 6 leaders. 6 powerful divine wills were communicating. Should we kill these restless fellows? Not for now. These guys are the backbone of the battle formation. If we kill them, it will definitely slow down the rate at which the battle formation spits out star water. That will harm our own interests. Now that we are suppressing them from above, I'm sure they will only be dissatisfied. Don't you think that we're too eager for quick success? I'm afraid that after this matter, the cohesion of our 10 great battle teams will be greatly reduced. Kai Wu, you're worrying too much. We're not the ones who should be worried. We're about to graduate and enter the inner sect of Xingchen School. Soon, we'll be leaving All Stars College for good. The position of leader of the top 10 squadrons will also be passed down according to the rules. Right now, what we need to do is to reap as many benefits as possible. As for the mess, we'll leave it to our successors to clean it up. Zhong Lin's words make sense. However, that Qin Feng might be more troublesome. He's the head of the Medicine King Hall and a level 4 alchemist. Although his strength is limited, his identity is still there. Even we can't offend him too much. You and I both know that alchemists are difficult to deal with. Although their strength isn't great, their influence is huge. If we offend him, I'm afraid that even if we enter Xingchen school, we won't have a good time. Ling Xuanghua, what are you afraid of? You're the leader of the Sky Sea Pavilion. How can you be afraid of a little brat like Qin Feng? It's fine if Qin Feng doesn't come, but if he dares to ruin our plans, I don't mind teaching him a lesson. Alright, stop arguing. Qin Feng is the chief alchemist of the Medicine King Hall. You may not know that the Medicine King Hall not only supplies elixirs to All Stars College, but also to most of the inner disciples of Xingchen School. If we offend the Medicine King Hall, we won't have a good time when we enter the inner sect. It's best that we don't offend Qin Feng. The last voice made the final decision. Let's open up our realms and seal off this area. We can't let these guys ruin our plans. Several invisible realms opened up, and the expressions of the geniuses changed. Yun Mo's face turned pale. At this moment, not far from this star, there was another huge nebula vortex. This was a temporary alliance formed by some experts other than the top 10 teams of All Stars College. These were the ordinary geniuses of All Stars College. Thousands of people formed a huge battle formation. Their ability to swallow and spit out the water of the stars was not weaker than a few martial arts giants. The leaders were some of the top geniuses on the ranking list of stars. There were 5 peerless geniuses in the sea reincarnation realm. Saber Emperor Song Ning, Golden Armored God of War Lu Ying, Chaotic Dragon King Chu Heng, and 2 inner disciples of Xingchen School, Wu Qiankuan and Long Xian. Compared to the full exploitation of the top 10 teams, the treatment of the geniuses in this nebula was much better. Many geniuses obtained a lot of benefits, and their strength improved greatly. In the nebula, Du Pingxia stood at the core of the nebula vortex with his early pulse condensation realm cultivation base. He was dressed in men's clothing and was filled with a heroic spirit. Around him were Li Zhuang, Wan Jiani, Wan Guiyi, Tuoba Yi, and other geniuses. Du Pingxia repeatedly operated the power of the battle formation to bombard the Milky Way. Occasionally, there would be meteor-like star essence being fed back. Among the surrounding people, many geniuses had star spirit veins flying out of their bodies. Obviously, they had obtained some benefit. Princess, luckily you reminded us in time. Otherwise, we would have been tricked by the top 10 teams. This time, when we return, our strength will improve greatly. There will be a place for us in the All-Star Assembly. The voices were filled with joy. At this moment, in a huge nebula in the upper reaches of the Winged Flame Nebula, many elders of All Stars College gathered and formed an even more powerful battle formation. The huge battle formation condensed into a miraculous silver-white pavilion in the void. Many elders were followed by many geniuses. Ji Huang Qian Kai, Yu Ji Yiding, Yen Gu, Lu Qingxue, Qi Ling Zhang Sunhua. Geniuses lined up. Their bodies emitted an extremely majestic aura. Everyone was like the darling of the Milky Way, favored by the stars. In just a short month, some of the geniuses had undergone earth-shattering changes. If Qin Feng was here, he would definitely notice something. At this moment, a group of geniuses under the protection of the elders tried their best to operate the battle formation to bombard the Milky Way. The power of each bombardment was actually not inferior to the full-strength attack of a sea reincarnation realm expert. When Yu Ji Yiding, Yen Gu, and the others used the mixed-element void cannon with all their strength, the power actually increased greatly. The power of each bombardment was actually not inferior to the mixed-element heaven and earth cannon of a martial overlord. It seemed like the heavens favored these geniuses. The Grade 4 silver nebula beasts that were relatively rare in the Milky Way actually appeared in front of the battle formation in groups, exposing themselves to the concentrated fire of everyone. The 2 experts in the lead, Yu Ji and Yi Ding, were exceptionally ferocious. When the 2 of them executed the mixed-element void cannon, a large group of nebula beasts would be killed every time, turning into a huge wave of star essence that soared into the sky. The strength of the 2 of them was rapidly increasing. This is the first update. There are still 3 updates to go. Chapter 371. Rumble. A golden light pillar blasted into the heavenly river. 2 silver rank 4 nebula beasts were shattered, and dozens of star essences entered Qin Feng's body. Shua. A resplendent spiritual light shot out 3 inches from his spiritual platform and condensed into a sparkling and resplendent spiritual light pattern. The second spatial chakra meridian. At the same time, 2 star esoteric shards turned into streams of light and entered his body. Ground Guardian! Earth vein rupture. Qin Feng closed his eyes and opened them a moment later. These were 2 earth attribute sacred arts. The Ground Guardian was able to extract the power of the earth to form a shield. As for the earth vein rupture, it was an earth attribute offensive sacred art. 1 strike would be able to cause the earth to pulsate. 1 strike would be able to unleash 3 or 4 times the power to shatter the enemy. The most precious thing wasn't the power of these 2 sacred arts. Instead, it was the shred of precious understanding of the laws of the earth contained within these 2 sacred arts. If he could comprehend it, Qin Feng's understanding of the power of the earth attribute would increase significantly. This wasn't the first time Qin Feng obtained such a sacred art. In a short hour, Qin Feng didn't hesitate to use more than 10 sacred arts. Most of them were yellow-grade sacred arts. A few of them were black-grade sacred arts like the Ground Guardian and Earth Vein Rupture. The Earth-grade sacred arts were still gold-grade sacred arts. At this moment, Qin Feng sensed that the concentration of star essences in the void started to rise again. The climax of the first wave was here. Qin Feng was shocked. At the upper reaches of the heavenly river, hundreds of golden figures appeared at the same time. These golden figures were swimming in the heavenly river. They were gold rank 5 nebula beasts. Gold demonic octopus, winged gold tiger, horned black water lion, golden dragon whale, golden frost lion, golden black death devil snake, golden electric eel, golden darkness red scorpion. At the same time, there was a huge wave of silver rank nebula beasts. Qin Feng saw dozens of silver cloud whales coming in a row against the light of the water. It was a mighty sight. Woo woo woo. The water droplets sprayed out covered the sky. This kind of silver-level cloud whale was very precious, and it contained a water element god art with great potential, sky-surging wave. Rumble. Instantly, a few water attribute sea reincarnation realm experts targeted these cloud whales and attacked them. In an instant, a few cloud whales were disintegrated by the pillars of light. Bang bang bang! One after another, they turned into streaks of silver-white starlight and soared into the sky. Among them, there were several beams of starlight that sparkled with the light of Star Upanishad. Qin Feng focused his gaze and observed carefully. Qin Feng's gaze was mainly lingering on some gold or silver nebula beasts with the fire attribute. Gold red flame spirit snake, gold 3-headed lion, gold red scaled ichthyosaur, gold red flood dragon. However, Qin Feng immediately ruled out these gold nebula beasts. It would be too much for Qin Feng to deal with a gold nebula beast at its peak. Instead of wasting the power of the mixed void lightning, he might as well choose a silver nebula beast. At this moment, a beautiful creature emerged from the river and entered Qin Feng's vision. It was a triangular great moon frost lizard. It had a streamlined body, and its silver-white scales glowed gently in the water of the heavenly river. There were 3 horns protruding from its head, and its tail was long and powerful. There was a small cluster of silver-white flames burning behind its tail. That was the heavenly star spiritual fire that was born in the core of a star. Qin Feng's eyes were burning with passion. If he could kill this beast and obtain its innate ability, the heavenly star spiritual fire, he would be able to obtain it. Splash! Splash! The water of the heavenly river surged, and a gold demonic octopus rushed down first. Its resplendent golden color was very eye-catching in the heavenly river. This gold demonic octopus stirred up huge waves in the water. the water of the heavenly river surged violently, splitting the sky and earth, and drowning everything. Qin Feng used his spiritual perception to scan this creature. The mixed void lightning in his palm was getting restless. After a while, he resisted the urge to attack. Qin Feng was not a true martial arts overlord. Every time he used the mixed void lightning cannon, he needed a dozen breaths to adjust. If this attack did not kill the gold demonic octopus, he would have to wait for a dozen breaths before attacking again. Qin Feng calculated that the triangular Great Moon Frost lizard would definitely escape from his sphere of influence after a dozen breaths. 2 breaths later, another gold-level nebula beast emerged from the bottom of the river. It was an injured gold-level 3-tailed red scorpion. It had a scarlet body and 3 pitch-black poisonous tails. The barbs on the tails were golden and sharp, as if they could tear the void apart. This 3-tailed red scorpion had one of its tails broken, and its shell was damaged. Black and smelly liquid flowed out from the wound, dyeing the water black. A dozen gold-level nebula beasts within a dozen feet of the scorpion roared and disappeared without a sound. Obviously, this monster's blood was highly toxic. Qin Feng used his spiritual perception to lock on to this 3-tailed red scorpion. This won't do. These 3 red scorpions are powerful. Although they are injured, they are not severely injured. I might not be able to kill them. Qin Feng's eyes flickered. At this moment, a cold light suddenly descended from the void above his head. In the next moment, it bombarded the 3-tailed red scorpion that was a few hundred feet away. Crack crack! A layer of terrifying ice condensed on the 3-tailed red scorpion. The 3-tailed red scorpion's powerful aura was declining rapidly. It was severely injured. Good chance. Qin Feng's eyes lit up. He saw a good opportunity. He dispersed the inner world's support on his palm, and the mixed void lightning exploded. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, a golden thunderbolt pierced through the void and landed on the solid ice of the 3-tailed red scorpion. Bang! The 3-tailed red scorpion exploded along with the ice. A golden spiritual pearl with a bright star ultimacy entered Qin Feng's body. In an instant, above Qin Feng's head, a sparkling and translucent light condensed into a resplendent pattern. The 3rd space chakra. At the same time, Qin Feng's back moved and 3 scorpion tails condensed from void true force appeared. Scarlet poison needles. Qin Feng was overjoyed at the unexpected good news. At this moment, a cold crescent moon slashed down from the top of his head. Qin Feng had a terrifying feeling as the space around him was split apart by this blade. Ground Guardian! An earth-yellow shield appeared in front of Qin Feng, and an unending stream of void true power condensed within the Earth Guardian shield. Boom! Like cutting through tofu, the Ground Guardian collapsed. So powerful! Qin Feng was shocked. With a wave of his sleeve, the void true force reformed and formed a Tai Chi divine diagram with black and white distinctions. Black tortoise yin and yang. Boom! The blade light broke into the Tai Chi divine diagram and countless explosions occurred inside. At the same time, a strange coldness pierced through the Tai Chi divine diagram and stabbed towards Qin Feng's skin. It can pierce through the Tai Chi divine diagram. Qin Feng's face changed. The original incipient level void true force quietly wrapped around this strange cold blade chi and refined it. Qin Feng raised his head. At this moment, a bright moonlight fell in front of him and a beautiful woman in white appeared. A cold and sweet voice filled with coldness arose in Qin Feng's ears. "Who are you? You actually dared to interfere and snatch away my prey?" This is the second update. There are 2 more updates. Chapter 372. This was a white-clothed girl of 15 or 16 years of age. She was like a beautiful silver moon that seemed to have walked out of the moonlight. She was like a poem or a painting, peerless and unparalleled. However, there was a chilling intent on her body that could freeze the world. Standing in the void, there was suddenly a kind of dense cold air, and a terrifying phenomenon of a world of ice and snow descended. Sun-Moon Sword Sect. Is this the moon true body? Qin Feng thought to himself as he narrowed his eyes. The sudden appearance of this white-clothed girl gave him a very dangerous feeling. Qin Feng tilted his head and said indifferently, "Who are you? Who are you? How dare you come to my territory to steal my prey?" "Your territory?" The white-clothed girl paused slightly. "You're dead, where would your territory come from?" Slender and white hands slapped out. Qin Feng's spiritual consciousness froze, and he immediately saw a shocking and unforgettable scene. With a slap, a cold light that froze everything and was eternally silent swept out. The void was frozen, the starlight was solidified, and there was even a feeling that one's spiritual consciousness was frozen and frozen. There was nothing else in the world except this cold light. Moon path obliteration, or freezing all worlds. Qin Feng thought of the Supreme Abhijna ranked 48th and 39th on the Abhijna roll. Chaos fire. Qin Feng raised a hand. His hand seemed to move extremely slowly in the void, but in reality, it was extremely fast. A dot of fire appeared in the void. A wisp of eternal flame was suddenly born in the void. It seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. It was as if it was the gathering of all burning, light, and heat phenomena. It burned endlessly, detonated the void, reflected time, sublimated matter, boiled yuan qi, turned endless trees into ashes, turned the royal heaven earth into lava, turned the infinite gung metal into blazing liquid, turned the oceans of the world into steam, smelted all rules and phenomena, and incinerated all worlds. It was as if a sun had suddenly shot past Qin Feng's fingertip like a shooting star. Wherever it passed, the cold light suddenly disintegrated silently, and the red light landed on the white-clothed girl's body. A brilliance like that of a bright moon suddenly erupted from the girl's body. The moon was bright and clear, and the cold light was steep. A bright pearl rose around the girl's body. Qi. The primal chaos flame divine power bombarded the ice crystal. The bright light fluctuated violently. It was as if the point of contact was the center, and all the power was unleashed. It wanted to melt the void completely. A trace of surprise appeared in the girl's cold eyes. She slightly gritted her teeth and pointed out a finger. The ice crystal, which was shining like the moon, suddenly shone brightly. The bright light was like a real moon. Layer after layer of crystal-like cold light gradually offset the power of the chaos fire. It actually caused the terrifying flames to gradually cool down and dissipate. Even the formless calamity and decay turned into ice cubes under the cold light and fell to the void. Qin Feng's gaze turned serious as he looked at the pearl in front of the girl that was as bright as the moon. He sighed slowly. "I didn't expect you to have a treasure like the divine lunar pearl. You should be cultivating one of the true inheritances of the Sun-Moon Sword Sect, the lunar refining art. Are you from the Sun-Moon Sword Sect?" The girl in white sized up the young man in black and frowned slightly. She didn't answer Qin Feng's question. The true power in her body was fluctuating violently. In this attack, she suffered a loss and was slightly injured. Qin Feng was a tough nut to crack. Even though he had yet to break through to the second level of the Sea of Reincarnation realm, his strength was abnormally strong. The girl in white was a little hesitant. At this moment, the girl in white and Qin Feng's expressions changed at the same time. In the distant sky, a flame flew over from the horizon like a shooting star. "Junior sister Guang Han, don't panic. I'm here to lend you a hand." An extremely arrogant voice rolled over and covered the entire solitary night star. If the energy circulating around the girl in white was like the moon and the moon that could freeze everything, however, at this moment, the light that erupted from this fiery streak of light was as bright as the sun, and a power that could melt the void swept out. In just a moment, a red-robed young man stepped on the flame and arrived. His scarlet-red hair reached his waist. He had a slender figure and a handsome face with a tinge of wildness. His sword-like eyebrows shot up to the sky, and the flame in his eyes was like the finishing touch. He stepped on the flame and looked down at the solitary night star from the bottom of the mountain. He was high and mighty, like a sun god looking down on all living beings. Qin Feng felt this person's aura and his pupils contracted. This red-robed young man's aura seemed to be 30% stronger than the girl in white. His aura wasn't inferior to an expert in the third level of the Sea of Reincarnation realm, the Heaven realm. The third level of the Sea of Reincarnation realm, the Heaven realm, had already condensed the embryonic form of the inner world. In essence, one had already completely understood the origin. This was the beginning of transcending the mortal world and entering the divine world. Imagine, how could an ordinary person fight with a sage who understood all the changes in heaven and earth? The girl in white obviously didn't have a good impression of this red-robed young man. Her eyes were indifferent. "Zhu Yan, why are you here? Shouldn't you be hunting for the golden-purple flame Lion King? Are you following me?" The red-robed young man, Zhu Yan, waved his hand and said, "Junior sister Guanghan, what are you talking about? Why would I follow you? I'm only following the golden-purple flame Lion King. I just happened to see the confrontation between you and this brute. Junior sister, in my opinion, this brute is stronger than you. Let me teach him a lesson." The red-robed young man was good at talking. With just a few words, he changed the girl in white's mind. The girl in white naturally knew what the red-robed young man was planning. The girl in white glanced coldly at the red-robed young man and said after a while, "All right, I'll let you do it. This brat seems to have an incredible flame divine ability. If you can kill him and obtain this divine ability, your strength will definitely increase greatly. However, you have to be careful. This divine ability is very powerful. It can actually break through my moon." The red-robed young man smiled proudly and said, "Junior sister, don't worry. This brat's cultivation is only at the first level of the Sea of Reincarnation realm. In my opinion, he should have just broken through to the Sea of Reincarnation realm. For such a person, I can crush him with just a finger." After saying that, he cast his gaze on Qin Feng. "Brat, you heard what I said. If you know what's good for you, you will immediately hand over that divine ability of yours. Otherwise, not only will you not be able to keep that divine ability, everything you have today will be lost." Looking at the red-robed young man who was slowly approaching him, Qin Feng frowned slightly. The situation was very unfavorable for Qin Feng. These two people were different from the four Sea of Reincarnation realm experts who were fighting in the void. Those four people were unprepared and killed by the primal chaos heaven and earth cannon. These two people were too close. Even if Qin Feng used the primal chaos heaven and earth cannon, he wouldn't be able to hit them. Although this Zhu Yan is an expert at the third level of the Sea of Reincarnation realm, with my foundation, I might be able to win. The key is that there are two of them. If I had completely condensed the 12 spiritual flames and cultivated the primal chaos flame, I might not be afraid of these two people. However, if I were to fight one against two now, I would be at a disadvantage. As Qin Feng pondered in his heart, he looked at Zhu Yan who was approaching step by step. The pressure around Qin Feng grew stronger and stronger. It was as though a red sun had appeared in his heart. Chapter 373. Looking at Zhu Yan, who was approaching step by step, Qin Feng removed all distracting thoughts from his mind. Zhu Yan's eyes revealed a trace of a sneer. He raised one hand and clenched it. An invisible force enveloped Qin Feng. A huge lock was formed in the void, locking down Qin Feng's entire body. From his toes to the top of his head, Qin Feng's pores revealed an invisible suppression. This was the Heaven Plane Suppression. It was a unique ability of the Heaven Plane realm. It could make use of the control of the void to create an absolute Heaven Plane suppression. If it was an ordinary Sea of Reincarnation realm expert, this move would be enough to kill him. This move is useless against me, Qin Feng thought in his heart. He rolled his eyes and pretended to be suppressed. His face was red with anger. Zhu Yan looked at Qin Feng in surprise. A trace of disdain appeared between his brows. I thought you were powerful, but I didn't expect you to be so weak. The white-clothed girl looked at this scene and frowned. She instinctively felt that there was a trap. However, she had a cold personality. She looked at this scene coldly. Sun Elemental Fusion Hand. This was Zhu Yan's specialty. It was as fast as lightning. The blazing light covered the sky and enveloped Qin Feng. Rumble. His palm landed on Qin Feng's head. However, Qin Feng's figure suddenly disappeared. Zhu Yan's palm landed on empty air. Not good. Zhu Yan's expression changed. He quickly looked around. However, it was too late. At this moment, a figure appeared behind him. Zhu Yan, don't overestimate yourself. The Heaven Plane suppression can kill ordinary Sea of Reincarnation realm expert. However, it is not a problem for me. Today you dare to come here to court death. Even the gods can't save you. This was a thought as well as a strand of divine will. Shameless boasting. Zhu Yan was so angry that his face turned green. The Sun True force in his body condensed and exploded. Suddenly, a huge domain was formed around him. Sun Domain. Dozens of feet away, a black-clothed figure appeared silently. Good. Domain suppression. Sun Furnace. Completely refine it. Zhu Yan's eyes flashed with burning killing intent. He unleashed a spell, and the entire Sun Domain changed. It was like a huge divine sun cauldron, trying to completely refine Qin Feng. However, it was still useless. Qin Feng's body shook. The power of the Sun Domain was torn apart and fused into his body. Countless amounts of void power were forcibly extracted by the Universe Book. The pure Sun Divine ability was as fragile as a baby in front of Qin Feng's original incipient grade true power. Qin Feng had underestimated the terrifying power of the original incipient true power. Any supernatural power, any power, could be torn apart by the original incipient realm's true power. One force could break 10,000 technique. How is this possible? Zhu Yan's eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he saw this. I don't believe it. Zhu Yan roared. King of Flames Shattering Golden Blade. Crimson Divine Sky-Splitting Cauldron. Limitless Divine Fire Palm. Inferno Heavens. One after another, divine arts shot out from Zhu Yan's hands, bombarding Qin Feng's surroundings. Qin Feng's eyes glowed with silver light as he easily shattered the divine arts with a wave of his hand. Too strong. The original incipient realm's true power is so intimidating. Qin Feng's eyes brightened. He had been immersed in the cultivation of the supernatural powers and neglected his own body. Now, he finally knew how strong he was. Some of the 7th and 8th level minor divine abilities bombarded his body, but they were like tickles to him. Zhu Yan's hair was disheveled. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. He was obviously stronger than Qin Feng. His realm was higher, but he couldn't hurt even a hair of his opponent. The girl in white was watching with cold eyes. Her eyes were like torches. At first glance, she could see the key point. She sent her voice to the young man in red. The quality of his true power is really high. His supernatural powers are invincible. Unless we use great supernatural powers, we can only use divine weapons to break them. Good. Raging Inferno Divine Sword. Zhu Yan's eyes were distorted. His face brightened as he grinned. A scarlet longsword appeared in his hand. High-grade spiritual sword? Qin Feng sneered. Qin Feng waved his sleeve and summoned the North Dark Godly Water Sword. Melting Sun Strike. Chaos Tide Extermination 8th Sword. Two blazing rays of light, one ice and one fire, collided in the void, and a terrifying explosion erupted from the middle with a loud bang. The two figures flew backward at the same time. Xiao, Qin Feng's figure retreated 300 meters. The clothes on his body were in tatters. This shocking explosion caused him to suffer heavy injuries. In the next moment, he operated the 8 desolation immortal mysterious art. Endless void true power poured into his wounds and healed them instantly. The wounds were reborn in the destruction and rebirth. Qin Feng vaguely felt that the second level of the 8 desolation immortal mysterious art, which had reached its limit, had improved a little. Again, Qin Feng rushed over and appeared above Zhu Yan's head at the next instant. Zhu Yan was panting when he saw Qin Feng charging over ferociously. He was shocked. This bastard actually recovered faster than me. I don't believe that you can recover so quickly every time. Zhu Yan gritted his teeth and charged forward with the raging inferno divine sword. 2 lights, one blue and one red, collided violently in the void. Boom! Qin Feng flew backward again. This time there was a big hole in his chest. In the distance, Zhu Yan had lost a finger. Zhu Yan's eyes showed a hint of pride. This time, he had gained the upper hand. But soon, Zhu Yan's eyes froze. In less than a breath, the big hole in Qin Feng's chest healed. His aura became stronger. Chaos Tide Extermination 9th Sword. Qin Feng roared. Unparalleled sword light bloomed around him, and a vast sword light came crashing down. The sword light was ferocious and sharp. It contained the power to shatter mountains and break prisons. The power of this sword strike was no weaker than some of the top heaven-seated powerhouses. A hint of fear appeared in Zhu Yan's eyes. This bastard was simply a monster. Not only was his recovery ability amazing, but he was also getting stronger as he fought. Zhu Yan circulated the Sun True Power and poured it into the raging Inferno Divine sword to block in front of him. Clank! The sound of metal clashing rang out, followed by a wail. The red light broke, and the North Underworld Divine Water Sword slashed Zhu Yan's chest. Bang! A big hole exploded. Zhu Yan's eyes flashed with fear. In the next moment, he turned into a ball of flames and exploded. Countless flames flew and appeared beside the white-clothed girl. Zhu Yan was shocked. This time, if he had not cultivated the Sun True Body and could temporarily turn his body into flames, this attack would have killed him. Sun True Body? Let's see how many times you can condense it. A cold smile appeared in Qin Feng's eyes. His entire body emitted a terrifying aura, akin to an incomparably sharp divine sword. In this kind of battle, he felt that his body's potential was being released. Zhu Yan was depressed. Condensing the Sun True Body once had already greatly damaged his vitality. Looking at the broken raging Inferno Divine Sword, Zhu Yan's heart ached so much that he could not breathe. This was a high-level divine sword passed down in his family. Zhu Yan's eyes were red. He suddenly gritted his teeth and said to the white-clothed girl, "Junior sister, let's work together to kill this kid." Hearing this, Qin Feng laughed. "What? You're scared after just one round? Who was the one who wanted to crush me with one hand just now?" Zhu Yan's face turned red. Chapter 374. The white-clothed girl carefully sized up Qin Feng and spat out a word after a moment. "All right." A moment later, she said again. "I'll be the main attacker. You support me." Extreme Inajura Slash. A strange weapon appeared in the girl's wide sleeves. It looked like a saber, but it wasn't a saber. It looked like a sword, but it wasn't a sword. It was transparent and flawless like a clear pond in autumn. As soon as the girl attacked, she used her best superpower. Hundreds of sharp saber shadows slashed out at an extremely fast speed. The saber light even froze the void. Seeing this, Zhu Yan was thrilled. He smiled ferociously and roared angrily. Fusion of the 3 suns. This time, Zhu Yan used all of his power. 3 crows screeched through the clouds. 3 three-legged divine birds made of flames flapped their wings and pounced on him. 2 forces attacked Qin Feng from the front and back, one from the left and one from the right. Qin Feng sneered. The North Dark Divine Water sword in his hand slashed and split the girl's extreme en azura slash. The mighty sword light rolled back. The girl in white was shocked. She turned into a white shadow and retreated 100 zhang away. After the slash, Qin Feng's body spun like a top and slashed toward Zhu Yan. A round of sword light tore Zhu Yan's superpower apart. The mighty sword light slashed at Zhu Yan. He's so strong. Even the two of us can't defeat him. Zhu Yan was scared out of his wits. He turned and turned into a flame, trying to escape. The Sun True body is useless this time. Qin Feng appeared in the flame. His 5 fingers grabbed and a terrifying suction force burst out. He grabbed a part of the flame and urged his original incipient grade void power to crush and refine it. A scream came from the flame. "Junior sister, save me!" The girl in white had already taken action. She waved her white hand and a white light slashed down like a waterfall. It was so fast that it reached Qin Feng in just a blink of an eye. What was strange was that this ordinary-looking saber light actually caused Qin Feng's mind to freeze, as though he was about to be slashed apart by the terrifying power. The extreme En God-slaying saber. This is a great divine ability. Qin Feng was secretly shocked. He quickly gave up on fighting Zhu Yan, and his figure flashed, turning into a Qin Feng that shot 1,000 feet away. Zhu Yan had escaped death, and the remaining flames rapidly gathered. However, his aura had decreased by more than half. His vitality was greatly damaged. Zhu Yan stared at Qin Feng in horror. His eyes were red with anger, indignation, and humiliation. It's a good tonic. After absorbing a part of Zhu Yan's energy essence, a bright and dazzling pattern of light emerged above Qin Feng's head. This was the 4th spatial chakra meridian. Zhu Yan was so angry that his body trembled. He was being treated as a tonic. Zhu Yan had a high status in the Sun-Moon Sword sect. He was an inner disciple with the highest chance of becoming a true disciple. He was a direct descendant of the Zhu clan and was respected by countless inner disciples. Today, he was being targeted as a tonic. Zhu Yan was filled with hatred and fear. Suddenly, Zhu Yan's eyes flashed with passion. "Junior sister, let's use lunisolar brilliance." "No." The white-robed girl rejected decisively. She stared at Qin Feng. She would rather lose to this person than use the lunisolar brilliance. Lunisolar brilliance might be the signature move of the Sun-Moon Sword sect, but the usage of this move was very demanding. Although it could increase the strength of both parties by 4 folds for a short period of time, both parties had to open their hearts. Opening their hearts, connecting their hearts, and connecting their hearts was akin to revealing all the secrets in their hearts to the other party. There would be no secrets between a man and a woman, unless they were the most intimate of lovers. As for the signature move of the Sun-Moon Sword sect, Qin Feng was also clear about it. He sneered after hearing Zhu Yan's words. "Give up, brat. She doesn't like you." When Qin Feng's words landed on Zhu Yan's heart, they were like a knife that directly pierced his heart. Being looked down upon by a woman, and it was the woman he loved. Zhu Yan's face turned ashen. His heart was suddenly filled with endless hatred. A part of it was directed at Qin Feng, but the majority of it was directed at the white-robed girl. The white-robed girl suddenly said, "Let's use lunisolar brilliance." "All right." Zhu Yan was delighted. Lunisolar brilliance was a divine power born from the simplification of lunisolar brilliance. It did not require a telepathic connection. Although the amplification was only 1 or 2 times, when the two of them stacked it together, the strength was definitely not as simple as 1 + 1. The two forces of Supreme Yin and Supreme Yang appeared from their bodies as the lunisolar brilliance fused and resonated with each other. Finally, the lunisolar brilliance was formed. The moment this move was used, Qin Feng felt like his soul was being destroyed. Qin Feng sneered, but he revealed a look of delight. "I'm not afraid that you won't use lunisolar brilliance or lunisolar brilliance or lunisolar brilliance. I'm only afraid that you won't use it. Qin Feng had been defending passively all this while. He wanted to give the two of them a chance as well as a chance for himself. A chance to release the primordial Chaos Heaven-Earth Cannon. In the Chaos Heavens, nearly 1/50th of its strength was blasted into the sphere of light in his palm. Suddenly, a mighty force erupted. A terrifying golden beam of light that could shatter the lunisolar brilliance blasted out. Rumble! The primordial Chaos Heaven-Earth Cannon blasted apart the lunisolar brilliance's power as easily as smashing a tree. Pung! Amidst the thick beam of light, the two figures disintegrated at a discernible speed. Two streams of astral essence soared into the sky, rushing towards Qin Feng with a loud rumble. This time, Qin Feng used less of his strength. It was unlike before, when he used 1/10 of his strength to vaporize the essence, vitality, and soul of the 4 Sea of Wheel experts in a single strike. As the two streams of stellar essence entered his body, Qin Feng immediately felt his meridians swell. The surging stellar essence nearly burst his meridians. The primordial chaos stellar art circulated, and moments later, 2 beams of light condensed above Qin Feng's head. The 5th and 6th spatial chakras. What a bountiful harvest! Qin Feng was overjoyed. A horse wouldn't get fat without eating at night, and a man wouldn't get rich without a windfall. Qin Feng was considering if he should find a few more Sea of Wheel realm experts to kill. At the same time, 2 divine powers appeared in Qin Feng's mind. These were the divine powers that the 2 Sun-Moon Sword Sect experts dropped after they were killed. One was the Great Een Soul-Splitting Spike. This was a type of mental power divine power that could absorb the power of the Great Een to form a terrifying spike that could pierce through the soul. This divine power was dropped from the white-robed young lady. This divine power was of little value, and the white-robed young lady didn't suffer any losses. The other was a fire attribute divine power, the fusion of 3 suns. This was Zhu Yan's final trump card. Qin Feng carefully sensed it and instantly knew that Zhu Yan was probably going to vomit blood this time. The fusion of 3 suns was an extremely profound fire attribute divine power. The 3 suns was only at the 3rd grade. Above it there was still the 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, and even the peak 9 suns burning the heavens. If one could master the 9 suns burning the heavens, they would be able to release 9 suns and 9 golden crows at once, burning the mountains and boiling the seas. This was a fire attribute divine power. At this moment, in a courtyard, there was a palace built in the middle of a volcano. Among the hundreds of volcanoes, there were many palaces that were connected. Pucci. In one of the palaces, a red-robed handsome young man suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. It was like the roar of an injured wild beast, causing the entire palace to shake. Damn bastard! How dare you destroy my battle physique and steal my divine power? The red-robed young man felt the divine power that had disappeared from his body. It's actually the fusion of 3 suns. This is my innate divine power. The red-robed young man ran out with disheveled hair, and his eyes were filled with madness. With this innate divine power gone, the road to the Nirvana realm was almost completely cut off. Less for these few days. More explosive on the 4th and 20th of September. Chapter 375. He had blasted 2 Sea of Reincarnation realm experts who harbored ill intentions to death. Qin Feng focused his attention on the Celestial River once again. The Celestial River was vast and tumultuous. At that moment there were already 2 huge waves in the Celestial River. A few gold-level nebula beasts appeared in between. There were even level 6 purple-gold nebula beasts. The first spurt of energy, the second waned, and the third was exhausted. The Celestial River was about to welcome the biggest wave, and it was likely the final wave. Above the Celestial River, there were sporadic explosions from the primordial chaos stellar cannons. A few Meridian's condensation realm experts were doing their best. As for the mighty figures at the Sea of Reincarnation realm, as well as martial arts titans, they had stopped. Only a few experts were doing their best. The feast was about to reach its final climax. Qin Feng swept his gaze across the celestial river. A few level 2 nebula beasts were charging down in pack. Occasionally, there would be a level 3 nebula beast. However, there were some level 4 and level 5 nebula beasts. These beasts already had intelligence. After experiencing a few waves, they were wary and did not approach the shore easily. As for those that were too far away, even experts like Qin Feng could only watch from afar. The Chaos Heavens was doing its best to spit out stellar water. Qin Feng looked inwardly and saw that the Chaos Heavens was filled with rich stellar yuan qi that could not be dissipated. The Chaos Tree had grown 2 inches. The tiny sapling's roots were firmly embedded in the void, as though it was absorbing nutrients from the endless void. This absorption was twice as strong as before. Thanks to this, the Chaos Heavens structure seemed to change. It was more condensed and the space was a lot bigger. From the original 9,999 kilometers, it had broken through and reached nearly 20,000 kilometers. Apart from the Chaos Tree, many spirit roots had also received various types of creation. The growth was extremely gratifying. These spirit roots and spirit herbs had created continent. They condensed vitality and harmonized yuan qi. For example, countless hard-working bees were helping Qin Feng manage the Chaos Heavens. This had indescribable benefits for the Chaos Heavens to survive the 4 calamities of earth, water, wind, and fire. At a glance, it was like a pure land, a green kingdom condensed from vitality. The greater the changes in the Chaos Heavens, the more benefits Qin Feng would reap as the existence that created the kingdom. What could be a better way to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth than to create a heaven and earth? This was originally a cultivation method unique to martial arts giants, and Qin Feng had already experienced this benefit in advance. Qin Feng closed his eyes and comprehended. At the same time, he paid attention to the changes in the celestial river. Puchi Puchi. Qin Feng's pores, meridians, flesh, and blood were all trembling as they adjusted themselves. Puchi Puchi. Strands of gray star yuan qi flew out from his body. By now, Qin Feng had also realized the mysteries of the Constitution. This body was his other body, and Qin Feng could test some of his ideas in this body. Qin Feng could unscrupulously experiment with some of his comprehensions and some of his cultivation methods on this battle physique. It was unlike his main body. If he were to experiment with cultivation techniques on his main body, Qin Feng might end up ruining his body. The body could be reborn if it was damaged. After thousands of adjustments, Qin Feng slowly figured out the flaws in his body. He could use his insights into the Tree of Chaos as well as his insights into the heaven and earth's operations. Unknowingly, Qin Feng's insights into his self-created 8 Desolation indestructible cultivation technique improved once again. The second level of the 8 Desolation indestructible body became even more profound through these changes. After an unknown period of time, Qin Feng suddenly felt the stellar yuan qi in the void turn rich. Countless streams of stellar yuan qi surged over from upstream. Moments later, he broke through his previous limit. Qin Feng opened his eyes. The rich stellar yuan qi was like stars floating above the heavenly river. It was dreamy and hazy as it floated in all directions. Above the void, Qin Feng felt as though his body was bathed in the stellar yuan qi. A huge wave was coming. Rumble! The heavenly river was roaring and shaking uneasily in his ears. At this moment, Qin Feng's expression suddenly changed. Dozens of streams of light were flying toward the solitary night star in group. They were like shooting stars streaking across the sky. They were all reincarnation realm experts. Some were cold, some were overflowing with killing intent, and some looked gloomy. Their divine senses instantly locked onto Qin Feng's figure. An invisible pressure enveloped his heart. Qin Feng's silhouette flashed and appeared in the air at the next instant. His cold eyes stared at the group of experts with unkind expressions. Furrowing his brows, Qin Feng's gaze landed on the 2 males and 1 female in the lead. These 3 were about 17 to 18 years of age, and were all different from each other. Looking at the appearances of the 3 in the lead, Qin Feng was startled. The 3 of them weren't just ordinary famous. The 45th on the stars list, Impermanence Sword Lian Wugo. The 38th on the stars list, Heaven Covering Hand Ruan Zhao. Qin Feng's gaze landed on the last girl. She had bright eyebrows and wore a proud blood-red battle armor. This girl was the hardest to deal with. She was ranked 13th on the stars list. She was the genius of the Sun-Moon Sword Sex Zhu clan. She was ranked 2nd in the Sun-Moon College, Zhu Yun. Zhu Yun's eyebrows were long and slender. Her eyes were like flames as she looked at the young man indifferently. You are the one who killed junior sister Guanghan and my Zhu clan's Zhu Yan. You have guts. You should be from the Xingqian school. I know the inner sex big senior brother, Xiaoyu. Are you going to kneel down and surrender yourself, or do you want us to go to the Xingqian school personally to arrest you? Her eyes were indifferent. She was high and mighty, and Qin Feng was like a fish in the palm of her hand. She wanted Qin Feng to take his own life without any explanation. She was unusually domineering. Senior sister, let me do it. I want to capture this little bastard personally, extract his soul, and bring it back to junior sister Guanghan. Beside her, a cold-eyed young man in a new shirt stared at Qin Feng viciously. His murderous intent was like a venomous snake. Among the 2 people Qin Feng killed, the girl in white was Ruan Zhao's sweetheart. Ruan Zhao could no longer hold back his murderous intent after his sweetheart was killed. Bulsh *T Sun Moon Sword Sect. How dare you put on airs in front of me with just the few of you? Qin Feng sneered, but he was a little fearful. Qin Feng had heard of Xiaoyu. He was known as the top disciple of the Xingqian school's inner sect. He had a huge influence. Compared to some of the true disciples, his strength wasn't any weaker. Zhu Yun and the rest changed their expressions. At this moment everyone was stunned. Buzz buzz. Qin Feng lowered his head. The solitary night star under his feet was trembling uneasily. Zhu Yun and the rest also seemed to have sensed something. They suddenly looked downstream. That was the source of the change. Soon, everyone knew why the solitary night star was feeling uneasy. Downstream, an indescribably huge beast was swimming against the current. It was a huge strange fish. The size of this strange fish was beyond imagination. It occupied more than half of the downstream. This terrifying scene made everyone's expression change. When he saw this strange fish, Qin Feng's expression changed drastically. The natal star mark in his heart gave a terrifying warning. This is the level 6 starlight giant Kuan that was being chased earlier. How did it become so huge? Qin Feng gasped. Without thinking, he activated his natal star mark and turned into a streak of starlight to return to his body. Just as he was about to disappear, Qin Feng saw a soul-stirring scene. This strange fish opened its mouth and turned into a terrifying whirlpool. 1/3 of the entire heavenly river was swallowed. Countless nebula beasts were swallowed by it. Out of the corner of his eye, many stars and some experts on them flew toward the huge whirlpool in the box of fear. It's really a Kuan-pung. A real ancient true spirit Kuan-pung. Everyone, get out of the heavenly river immediately. Qin Feng heard some experts roaring in fear. Chapter 376. In the secret chamber of the Scarlet Sky Peak, a spot of white light descended. Hoo-hoo! In the secret chamber, Qin Feng's chest started to rise and fall. After a while, he opened his eyes. In the spiritual platform, an extremely large amount of true power poured down. This time, Qin Feng had obtained too many benefits from the Starlight Spirit Tide. He had directly crossed the threshold of the Sea of Reincarnation realm and even condensed 6 spatial chakras. Even though he could only obtain 1/10 of the feedback, the benefits to Qin Feng were unimaginable. The extremely vigorous true power poured into Qin Feng's meridians, and they were instantly pushed to their limits. From the outside, Qin Feng was like a balloon that had suddenly expanded by a size. His limbs, body, and even his face were all swollen. Green veins were popping out, and under his skin, they were like green dragons. The star true power in Qin Feng's body was rapidly transforming. In the blink of an eye, it had completely transformed into the void true power that only Sea of Reincarnation realm experts had. In the blink of an eye, the void true power had filled his entire body. Under the baptism of the true void power, a feeling of being reborn filled his entire body. The blood in his entire body boiled and thawed, constantly releasing strands of pure vitality, quickly refining the meridians in his entire body. His meridians were becoming wider and thicker. The surging true void power merged with his muscles, bones, skin, limbs, bones, and even every inch of his blood and flesh without any repulsion, increasing his profound qi and qi from the root. At the same time, Qin Feng's spiritual will that had returned to him was rapidly assimilating with the spiritual will. It was absorbing the spiritual will that only Sea of Reincarnation realm experts had. What was spiritual will? Thoughts were like thoughts, and with a single thought there were hundreds of changes. This was spiritual will. The light in Qin Feng's eyes started to change. This feeling was very strange. When he closed his eyes, the surrounding dust was silently affected and drifted. The void was affected and started to distort. Qin Feng's eyes fluctuated. This kind of power was something that he had never had before. His spiritual will didn't have any power and couldn't even move a speck of dust. However, his spiritual will could easily control objects such as chopsticks, benches, rocks, and so on. Qin Feng's spiritual will was already extremely huge. After it transformed into spiritual will, it was extremely huge. With a single thought, he could sweep through countless snow-white lightning in the depths of the void. It was extremely terrifying. If an ordinary meridian condensation stage martial artist met Qin Feng, it would be like how Qin Feng had met Yan Go. With just a thought, he would be severely injured. When divine will was born. The second level of the 8 desolation immortal body, under the baptism of the vast void true power, his entire body's acupuncture points, tendons, and bones were all changing rapidly. However, it was still not as fast as the void true power that was continuously flowing out from the beer. Qin Feng felt that his body was getting bigger and bigger. If this continued, he might explode. With a thought, Qin Feng immediately had an idea. With a flick of his sleeve, he tore open the chaos heavens. 2 treasures containing spirit fire flew out. Quickly glancing at the 2 treasures, Qin Feng hurriedly activated the meridian condensing mystic method in the art of Chaos Star. He used all his strength to extract the spiritual fire from the 2 treasures and condense the spiritual vein. A moment later, 2 spiritual meridians condensed in his body. 12 spiritual veins. Qin Feng frowned. This was only a tiny portion of the massive void true power he had expended. Qin Feng continued condensing the void true power and began refining the last 2 spiritual fires, the formless heart fire and the 9 nether spiritual fire, into flames. 200 seconds later, Qin Feng sighed as he looked at the 2 flames that had condensed in front of him. Of the 2 flames, one was formless and formless while the other was like the 9 nether hells. After condensing the 2 flames, Qin Feng still did not sense any signs of the void true power in the beer coming to a complete stop. Whatever. I can condense the 12 fire divine powers in one fell swoop, transforming them into the chaos fire great divine power. Qin Feng sat cross-legged and used the primordial incipient void true power's powerful strength. His 10 fingers intertwined as he rapidly formed one seal after another. 10 thin wisps of void true power rapidly condensed between his 10 fingers. A golden flame appeared between Qin Feng's palms. The flame was like the sun in the sky. Blinding beams of light emitted from the flame. The moment the flame appeared, the entire secret room was illuminated as if it was daytime. Qin Feng was calm. According to the secret technique of the Twilight of the Gods, a trace of disaster aura appeared from the Abyss Demon diagram. Qin Feng struck out a series of seals. Void true force fused into the seals, forming countless ancient runes that resembled bees. These runes wrapped around the disaster aura and the sun true flame. The golden sun true flame began to change. Slowly it was dyed black. The black flame was like the deepest darkness in the world. After a while, the sun true flame turned black. This pitch-black flame swayed in the void. It had a chaotic, disordered, and disastrous aura. This was the Chaos Fire Origin Flame. This process consumed a lot of true power. Qin Feng felt a little more relaxed. In Qin Feng's eyes, another flame appeared on his palm. It was completely red and emitted a violent and chaotic power. This was the Crimson Evil Spirit Fire. Qin Feng fully operated his Void True Power. Wisps of Void True Power were formed as he began to refine the two spiritual fires. Just as Qin Feng was in seclusion to cultivate the Chaos Fire Great Divine Ability, All Stars College was in chaos. The appearance of the ancient true spirit Kunpeng caused many geniuses to be caught off guard. Their painstakingly condensed fortune turned into flowing water. It was even rumored that some martial arts overlords met with a calamity. Half a month had passed. The Scarlet Sky Peak's Jade Water Cave's entrance was tightly shut, causing the people of the Scarlet Sky Peak to be unsettled. Do you think the Peak Master will be fine? Outside the Jade Water Cave, Luan Xiaochuan, Zhao Yuan, Su Jie, Qin Shou, Qin Gang, and the rest gathered. Yu Yao glanced at Luan Xiaochuan. You don't have to worry. Even if the Peak Master swallowed the Kunpeng True Spirit's battle body, he would at most lose a battle body and some cultivation. Nothing will happen to him. I just hope that the Peak Master will be fine. This time, many geniuses obtained great benefits from the Starlight Spirit Tide. I heard that many geniuses had a great improvement in their strength. In this half a month, there were more than 100 freshmen who advanced to the pulse condensation realm. There were even some seniors who broke through to the Sea of Reincarnation realm and became a big shot. At this moment, Yu Yao's body emitted an extremely powerful aura. From the 6th heavenly layer to the 4th heavenly layer, she directly advanced to the 10th heavenly layer. This one day's effort was comparable to 1 or 2 years of cultivation for ordinary geniuses. Luan Xiaochuan, Zhao Yuan, and the other two also had a great improvement in their strength. Zhao Yuan had already advanced to the peak of the 11th heavenly layer. Luan Xiaochuan emitted an aura that was shockingly similar to that of a pulse condensation realm expert. Su Jie's expression was solemn. The corner of his mouth was slightly bitter. In the final Kunpeng Devour, his battle body was swallowed and he gained nothing. Even his aura was damaged. This year's All Stars College Martial Arts Tournament is unprecedentedly lively. Sighing softly, Yu Yao frowned and a trace of worry could be seen in her beautiful eyes. This time, most of the geniuses had a fortuitous encounter. She was afraid that there would be people who couldn't help but jump out. If Qin Feng couldn't suppress these people, the position under his but would be in danger. Chapter 377. Rumble. While Luan Xiaochuan, Su Jie, Zhao Yuan, and the others were waiting anxiously, on the eve of the All-Star Martial Competition, the Jade Water Cave that had been sealed for a long time finally opened under everyone's anticipation. Dressed in a soft black robe, Qin Feng's gaze fell on the group of subordinates at the entrance of the cave, and finally landed on the graceful figure in red clothes that was like fire. 2 hours later, in front of the sea of clouds, Qin Feng slowly landed in front of the stone platform. His gaze fell on the sea of clouds that covered the sky. Suddenly, He turned around and swept a glance at the few people that were deeply worried. So, many people are eagerly eyeing my position of Azure Dragon's head seat covetously. Qin Feng's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. Actually, half a month ago, he had already successfully cultivated the primal chaos flame divine ability. The reason why he went into seclusion was because he was cultivating another ancient divine ability. Half a month had passed, and this divine ability had finally crossed the threshold. It was only after he cultivated this divine ability that the void true energy in Qin Feng's body that had skyrocketed slowly calmed down. Thinking about that divine ability, Qin Feng's eyes flickered with a trace of brilliance. Yu Yao didn't notice Qin Feng's abnormality and continued to speak. This time, many people in the Azure Dragon Institute had a great improvement in strength. The strongest group of people like Yuan Daozhen, Long Jianyi, Lu Kenyang, Xiao Yuchan, and the others were like carps that had leaped through the dragon's gate. They were all at the pulse condensation realm, from the 13 heavens realm of the martial Tao to the pulse condensation realm. As she spoke, Yu Yao's brows revealed a trace of emotion. It's said that these people took the opportunity to cultivate some extremely tyrannical divine abilities. Only them? Qin Feng chuckled. They aren't the most terrifying. The most terrifying ones are some of the original peerless geniuses like Lu Qingxue, Ji Huang Qi Ling Zhang Sun Huia, Lu Tianjun, and the others. I don't know what happened to these people, but their cultivation has become unfathomable. It's said that they can even directly contend with Sea of Reincarnation experts. Yu Yao's eyes carried an unconcealable sigh. To be able to contend against a Sea Wheel Realm expert at the Meridian's condensation realm, such strength wasn't something that could be described with the word terrifying. Only those who had fought with Sea of Reincarnation realm experts would know how despairing the difference of a large realm was. Qin Feng said, "This is just some of the geniuses among the freshmen. I'm afraid there are even more geniuses among the previous Heaven's Prides. Peak Lord is wise." According to the incomplete statistics, there are no less than 10 geniuses from the previous batches who have relied on this great opportunity to advance to the Sea of Reincarnation realm. A hint of envy appeared in Yu Yao's eyes. Within the Starlight Spirit Tide, the stronger one was, the more benefits one would receive. When will the competition officially begin? Tomorrow. Yu Yao glanced at the black-clothed youth and said, "The first round is the school tournament of each year. The top 10 of the 4 great academies, Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, White Tiger and Black Tortoise academies, will be decided. Then, the top 10 of the 4 great academies will compete with each other to decide the top 10 of each year. Finally, it will be the All-Star Finals. The top 10 of each year, plus the outer court disciples of the 28 peaks of Xingqian School will compete in the final battle." The outer court disciples of the 28 peaks? Qin Feng's eyes flickered. Yes, not only will there be the elite disciples of All Stars College, but also the outer court disciples of the 28 peaks. Each of the 28 peaks will send 3 to 9 people to participate in the All-Star Tournament. Yu Yao's eyes revealed envy. Being able to enter Xingqian School was the dream of all the All-Stars College students. Even if it was an outer court disciple, once they entered, no matter if it was an individual or the family behind them, they would be glorified. Yu Yao slightly collected her emotions and said, "However, according to the rules of All Stars College, the head doesn't need to participate in the school tournament and can directly enter the year tournament. There's such a benefit." Qin Feng was slightly surprised. According to the practice of the previous batches, the school tournament is usually 3 days. Within 3 days, the top 9 of the school, including the head, will enter the year tournament together with the head. In other words, my first match will be in 4 days. Qin Feng smiled slightly. Then, Qin Feng asked casually, "Has All Stars College posted the specific reward measures? I think the quadrennial All-Star Tournament shouldn't disappoint. Peak Masters' eyes are like torches. The rewards of this year's All-Star Tournament far exceed the previous batches. Rumor has it that several outer court disciples who were about to enter the inner court deliberately gave up the opportunity to enter the inner court in order to participate in this year's All-Star Tournament. Oh, is that so? Qin Feng's interest was piqued. I'm more curious about the rewards that can attract so many geniuses. Yu Yao's figure shook, and she said with some exultation, Peak Master, you may not know how generous the rewards of All Stars College are this time. The rewards this time are divided into 3 levels. The first 10 prizes of the school tournament are a 3rd-grade Divine Ability pill and a high-rank Spirit Martial Realm cultivation technique. Speaking of the high-rank Spirit Martial Realm cultivation technique, Yu Yao's eyes revealed a trace of envy. In the lower river town's Yu family, the inheritance of the family was only a middle-rank Spirit Martial Realm cultivation technique. It was because of this cultivation technique that the Yu family was able to pass down for hundreds of years and stand tall in Lower River Town. If you can pass the school tournament and enter the top 10 of the year, you can truly obtain the identity of Xingqian School's outer court disciple. The identity of Xingqian School's outer court disciple. Qin Feng's eyes moved. Yu Yao's expression was a little excited as she took a deep breath and said, Not only that, you can also obtain the qualification to cultivate in the Dragon Valley's Dragon Spring for 3 months and a low-rank true martial realm cultivation technique. In addition, you can also choose an ancient town in the capital of stars as your fief. Dragon Valley's Dragon Spring, Qin Feng knew about this. It was rumored that this was an innate blessed land in Xingqian School that contained innate Dao aura. Cultivating here for a day was equivalent to cultivating for half a month. The most amazing thing was that there was a kind of wonderful power here. Cultivating here would allow one to enter an epiphany. Therefore, this Dragon Valley was also known as the Valley of Epiphany and was very attractive. Cultivating in the Spirit Spring, a true martial realm secret technique, an ancient town as your fief, and finally, an outer court disciple of Xingqian School, this year's all-star martial competition would probably have a dragon martial competition. The most moving is still the top 10 of the year's prize. A high-rank true martial realm cultivation technique, the identity of an inner court disciple, an ancient town as your fief, and you can also choose a treasure from the capital of Star's treasury. Yu Yao forcefully suppressed the trembling in her voice. Rumor has it that the top 3 can be conferred the title of Marquis. Qin Feng's eyes lit up. Being conferred the title of Marquis was a special honor. Not only was it an affirmation of one's strength, but it also represented the support of the sect. Being a Marquis represented a kind of strength in itself. It was also an indication of the strength of a first-rate sect. As everyone knew, only first-rate sects had the ability to confer the title of Marquis. According to the usual treatment that first-rate sects gave to Marquis geniuses, not only would a Marquis have their own training grounds, they would also be able to own a huge fief. What was a Marquis? It was a place where countless geniuses were vassals. A Marquis was above all geniuses and could control the clouds and rain with a flip of their hand. With a single command, tens of thousands of people would follow. Chapter 378. Right when Qin Feng left his closed-door cultivation. At this moment, on a mountain that was covered in snow. Heavy snow fluttered about on the mountain, and cold mist was hazy. Suddenly, a vast moonlight shot into the sky above an icy lake, and it formed an enormous vortex in the sky. There was a group of young women outside the icy lake. Their clothes fluttered in the wind, and they had slender figures that were curvaceous and curvy. Every single one of them had waists that were thin like willows, beautiful appearances, and vigorous vitality. The group of young women revealed pleasantly surprised expressions in unison when they saw this scene. Senior Sister Yu Ji has finally cultivated the great Een Samsara divine ability. It's truly inconceivable. This great Een Samsara is worthy of being called a divine ability, and its might surpasses the heavens and the earth. I heard that the great Een Samsara is a part of the peerless divine ability that's ranked at the 9th position on the divine ability rankings, Samsara Rebirth. I heard that Samsara Rebirth contains the Samsara of Yin, Yang, and the 5 elements. If Yin, Yang, and the 5 elements are combined together to execute Samsara Rebirth, then even fiend gods would fall into a sea of misery and be forever unable to rise up. Our senior sister UG is bound to shine brilliantly in the All-Star Martial Meeting this time. With this divine ability, the first in the All-Star Martial Meeting will surely be senior sisters. Yi Clan. A white-clothed young man stood in the garden. His hands were spread open, and Yin and Yang flowed around him to form an enormous Yin and Yang fish. As Yin and Yang rotated, it possessed a force that caused everything to be devoured. A pitch-black vortex appeared around the white-clothed young man, and everywhere it passed, the vitality of the entire garden withered within this enormous black and white vortex. After a short moment, the entire garden in an area of 300 m was devoured and transformed into pure energy. An enormous pit that was over 100 m in size appeared on the ground. The appearance of that ancient rock is truly a supreme fortuitous encounter for husband. After obtaining the divine insight of this rock, husband has finally comprehended the entire profundity of the rock's true form and cultivated the rock's heaven-devoured divine ability. It's capable of devouring the vitality of everything in the world to strengthen yourself and cultivate the rock's divine body. With this divine ability, there's no suspense in the All-Star Martial Meeting. This was an azure-clothed young woman with beautiful hair that fluttered in the wind, and her body was enveloped by a layer of hazy green light, causing her jade-white and beautiful face couldn't be seen clearly, and her eyes that were like black gems were exceedingly intelligent. The white-clothed youth opened his eyes and smiled. This is all thanks to my beloved wife. If my beloved wife didn't capture a few pure Een body virgins, I might not have been able to cultivate this Kuan Peng's heaven-swallowing grand divine art. This is my husband's own opportunity. However, my husband's divine ability is Deshang. Don't forget about me. The girl in green snorted and rolled her eyes at the white-robed young man. A black and white divine light bloomed in the white-clothed young man's eyes. Don't worry, with me around, I'll definitely be able to help you defeat that formidable opponent and become the disciple of that existence in the Biling sect. Xingchen School, Een Ming Pique young man in black with shoulder-length black hair was standing in the air. His eyebrows were facing the sky with a hint of white. His entire body was strange. He stood in the air and waved a long banner in his hand. A terrifying murderous aura surged out like a tide. This long black banner absorbed all the Een Chi, and countless demon and devil souls lingered in the long banner. Junior brother Dingley, I didn't expect that after not seeing you for a few years, your 100 refined divine weapon art has advanced to such an extent. You can actually use your essence, chi, and spirit to refine the divine ability into a real divine weapon. It seems that this divine weapon already has a trace of a real divine weapon's power and contains an incredible and terrifying power. However, this black killing banner of yours is not a good thing. You've secretly refined it with an evil method. If you're not careful, your soul will really be swallowed by it and become this evil treasure. A soft golden light appeared in the sky full of black chi. A slender and handsome golden-haired youth appeared in the air. He was handsome and had slender eyebrows in the golden light. He was wearing a silver-white battle suit and had a string of Buddhist beads emitting a sandalwood fragrance in his hand. Senior brother Shinshu, I heard that a few years ago, you obtained a part of the inheritance of the Pure Land sect that had been destroyed in ancient times. Now it seems that it's true. You can actually come and go freely in my black killing chi. It seems that you've cultivated the Pure Land sect's highest secret technique, Buddha Golden Body. As his voice fell, in an instant, countless demon and devil souls burst out with countless mournful wails and rushed toward Shinshu. "Junior brother, why do you have to do this?" Shinshu put his palms together, and a round of spirit light that symbolized the perfection of the soul appeared behind his head. Countless ferocious and vicious demon and devil souls spread out on Shinshu's body. Rays of golden light circulated, and any demon soul that touched this circle of golden light turned the evil chi into peace and was silently liberated. What a powerful Buddha golden body! However, Shinshu, if you really want to fight with me before the All-Star Martial Arts Assembly, then I'll accompany you to the end. Alas, with a light sigh, Shinshu shook his head, and a golden light flashed and silently disappeared from the dark nether peak. Dingley glanced at the void with a gloomy gaze, and killing intent surged in his eyes. After a moment, he snorted coldly. "Shinshu, I hope you don't stop me. Otherwise, even if you're my friend who grew up with me, I'll still kill you. Xiaoyu, you dare to snatch my beloved. I, Dingley, will absolutely not let you off." A long roar surged into the sky, and the killing intent was so substantial that it turned into countless black snow that fell down. The entire dark nether peak suddenly wailed and howled, and it was abnormally terrifying. 3 enclosures, Little Cold Mountain. A yellow-clothed youth stood on the mountain with a cold and indifferent expression. Suddenly, a trace of a sneer flashed on the corner of his mouth. Looking at the misty mountain range in the distance, he muttered to himself, "This manual of unruffled virtue is indeed unfathomable. It actually allowed my strength to make successive breakthroughs in a short few months. Now I've even broken through the Sea Revolution realm and become a true big shot. The 3 bodies of Exalted, the Firmament body, the Yellow Sky body, and the Azure Sky body. Now that I've cultivated the Firmament body and the Firmament replenishment divine ability, I, Zhang Mu, am destined to soar into the sky this time." The yellow-clothed youth let out a long roar, and a trace of boundless hatred flashed in his eyes. "Long Ling, in the past, you treated me as heir. Today I'll make you unworthy." Poison God Valley. This was a mysterious place filled with poisonous creatures. Countless colorful poisonous miasma wreaked havoc, and some poisonous mutated insects would occasionally shuttle through the gray and gloomy forest. In the middle of the forest, on a rock, a gray-clothed youth was surrounded by colorful poisonous miasma. What was shocking was that the countless pure poisonous essence chi actually took the initiative to enter the youth's pores. After absorbing so much pure poisonous essence chi, the gray-clothed youth's expression looked as though he had swallowed a great tonic, and his face was flushed red. Immemorial poison god body, soul decay divine art. My goodness, where did this kid obtain such a terrifying inheritance? In the mind of the gray-clothed youth, an old soul's expression changed, and his expression turned ugly. At this point, he felt that his loss of self-control was getting out of his control. Qian Kai's growth was too fast. Supreme spiritual ruins felt a trace of danger. The primordial poison god's body was truly too terrifying. Exploding on the 4th of the day after tomorrow, please recommend me. Chapter 379. The status of a marquis was not inferior to a core disciple in the sect. However, not every all-star martial assembly was able to obtain the title of marquis. According to the tradition of Xingqian School, only the inner court of Xingqian School's 28 Peaks Martial Assembly held once every 10 years would have the opportunity to obtain the title of marquis. Qin Feng's eyes slightly lit up. 4 days later, in the alchemy courtyard. Outside the alchemy courtyard, a circle of alchemist apprentices gathered and discussed animatedly. Truly amazing. In a short 4 days, the Peak Master refined nearly 40 gourds worth of medicinal pills. This kind of refining speed is terrifying. It is said that most of them are grade 2 medicinal pills and even grade 3 medicinal pills. On average, he refined 10 gourds a day. An ordinary grade 4 alchemist would be able to refine 3 gourds worth of medicinal pills a day. The peak master refined 10 gourds worth of medicinal pills a day. This is more than 3 times that of an ordinary alchemist. This means that our peak master's attainments in the Tao of alchemy far surpasses ordinary grade 4 alchemists. He is not far from becoming a grade 5 alchemist. Truly terrifying. The peak master's attainments in the Tao of alchemy are so high at the age of 15. No wonder the Medicine King Hall would rather give up a few grade 5 and grade 6 alchemists to hire our peak master as their chief alchemist. We are also lucky. We have benefited greatly in these 4 days. Yeah, these 4 days are comparable to our usual half a year of comprehension. I already feel that I am not far from becoming a grade 1 alchemist. At most, I will be able to participate in the grade 1 alchemist test in half a year. Really? Then congratulations. Same to you. In the alchemy courtyard, the group of alchemist apprentices were jubilant. At this moment, in the alchemy courtyard, 2 reincarnation realm elders received a few gourds with a pleasantly surprised expression. Grade 2 Origin Essence Pill, Grade 2 Soul Refining Pill, Grade 3 Origin Fire Divine Ability Pill, Grade 3 E-Wood Divine Ability Pill. Moreover, they are all high grade, and there are even lesser grade. After receiving the 10 gourds, the 2 elders opened their lids and smelled slightly. Their faces were flushed red, and they were so happy that they couldn't close their mouth. Junior Marshal Brother Qin is truly a great talent. His alchemy skills are miraculous. With Junior Marshal Brother Qin Feng, he alone can be compared to a dozen alchemists of the same level. Good. With these pills, let's see if the people from the Alchemy Hall still dare to strut around in our Medicine King Hall. The 2 elders were shocked. Qin Feng waved his hand. Senior brothers, you flatter me. The 2 elders looked at each other and exchanged glances. Looking at the gourd in their hands, they secretly clicked their tongues. It's really amazing. It seems that the palace master's vision is really like a torch. With such a skilled alchemy technique and such a high success rate, the most frightening thing is that every batch of pills he produces is of high grade. You should know that only a true alchemist can do this. That's right. As far as I know, even some level 5 and level 6 alchemists can't make a top-grade furnace. Only alchemy grandmasters who have reached the peak of mastery in medicinal properties, medicinal herbs, and even alchemy techniques have this ability. It's not good. It seems that this Junior Marshal Brother Qin might advance to alchemy grandmaster before the age of 30. We should get closer to this Junior Marshal Brother. If we can form a good relationship with an alchemy grandmaster, our chances of advancing to the Nirvana realm will increase by at least 30%. Senior Marshal Brother's words are reasonable. The next time we come, we must prepare a generous gift. The 2 elders were secretly excited. Their gazes towards Qin Feng were filled with even more admiration. After sending off the 2 elders whose eyes were shining, in the afternoon, Qin Feng began to prepare to leave for All Stars College. Qin Feng was the head of the Azure Dragon Institute. The first round was the year battle. When Qin Feng arrived at the Azure Dragon Institute, one of the elders in charge of the new students was already waiting in front of the Azure Dragon Institute's main hall with 9 other people. The surroundings were filled with Azure Dragon Institute students who came to cheer for him. Qin Feng was dressed in black. The moment he appeared at the intersection, he immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. Swish, swish, swish. 9 pairs of eyes instantly landed on Qin Feng. Among them, Yuan Daozhen, Lu Kenyang, Xiao Yuchan, Qian Kai, and Zhou Yu's eyes were filled with intense battle intent. The few of them had recently obtained great fortuitous encounters and rose up again. Their auras were powerful. If it wasn't for the rules, they would have gone up to challenge him immediately. Lu Qingxue hugged her zither and sized up Qin Feng with her watery eyes. Senior Marshal Brother Qin. Senior Marshal Brother Qin. At the side, some students greeted him excitedly. Qin Feng glanced at them and nodded slightly. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Qin Feng sighed inwardly. If he were to be defeated in the year-end competition today, he was afraid that all the politeness and respect today would instantly turn into monstrous waves that could overflow the heavens, smashing his body into pieces. Sighing in his heart, Qin Feng walked towards the group of 9 people. The leader was a middle-aged elder who was around 40 years old. He was dressed in a green robe and emitted a clear aura. He was also a sea reincarnation realm expert. Qin Feng recognized this elder. He was Azure Dragon College's Elder Nan Feng. Together with Elder Qiu Feng and Elder Bei Feng, they were in charge of the first year of Azure Dragon College. Elder Nan Feng had always been dignified. A trace of a smile appeared on his old face. Junior Marshal Brother Qin is here. Hearing how Elder Nan Feng addressed Qin Feng, many Azure Dragon College students were secretly shocked. Qin Feng wasn't surprised. Ever since he became the chief alchemist of the Medicine King Hall, he was already an inner disciple. An inner disciple's status wasn't inferior to an ordinary elder. Those elders naturally addressed him as Marshal Nephew. Qin Feng greeted. Senior Marshal Brother Nan Feng. Junior Marshal Brother Qin is amazing. I heard from a few Senior Marshal Brothers in the Medicine King Hall that Junior Marshal Brother managed to refine close to 20 gourds of second-grade spirit herbs in 2 days. Moreover, the furnace is top-grade. It's shocking! Elder Nan Feng exclaimed. With a sigh, Elder Nan Feng glanced at the many disciples and immediately led them to the Demon God Square, where the 4 colleges were gathered. When they arrived at the Demon God Square, it was already a boiling cauldron of voices. 3 groups of people had arrived first. Vermilion Bird College, Black Tortoise College, White Tiger College. Nan Feng snorted. Junior Marshal Brother Nan Feng, why are you so late this time? Could it be that you're afraid of losing? A loud voice came from afar. Isn't that so? The Azure Dragon College hasn't had a single new genius enter the finals for 100 years. Junior Marshal Brother Nan Feng's mood can be imagined. Another chuckle was heard with a hint of mockery. Qin Feng glanced at Elder Nan Feng. The middle-aged man in a green robe had a gloomy expression. He snorted. Qin Feng, don't be too proud of yourselves. A momentary victory or defeat doesn't mean anything. After speaking, Elder Nan Feng glanced at the black-clothed youth beside him and chuckled. Elder Qi Feng smiled faintly. That might not be the case. 3 feet of ice isn't formed in a day. Furthermore, there are a few outstanding geniuses that appeared in our 3 colleges this time. With their strength, they might even be able to put up a fight against a reincarnation realm expert. I'm afraid no one in your Azure Dragon College is their match. Chapter 380. I know that an amazing person has appeared in your Azure Dragon School this year. Unfortunately, being an ordinary alchemist doesn't equate to one's own strength, Elder Qi Feng said as he glanced at the black-clothed youth. His eyes revealed a slight smile. Qin Feng looked towards the source of the voice. It was a 27 or 28-year-old red-clothed youth. He crossed his arms with a red copper ring on his arm. His black hair fluttered in the wind, giving off an extremely strong deterrent force. Beside Qi Feng was a middle-aged man. This middle-aged man had a white face and no beard. His long and narrow eyes revealed a trace of shrewdness. Listening to the whispers of the surrounding students, this was White Tiger School's Elder Qi Feng. There was also a blue-clothed woman. She was Vermilion Bird School's Elder Qi Feng. All Stars College's martial arts tournament had been passed down for thousands of years and had its own set of procedures. After the 4 elders glanced at each other, they immediately invited the spectating elders to take their seats. At this moment, there were no less than 10 elders in the elders' seats. They were all important figures of All Stars College. There were also some disciples from Xingqian school who had specially come to watch the tournament. Each of them held a high position. Qin Feng glanced at the surrounding geniuses. These people were sharpening their swords and seemed to be abnormally excited. Listening to the excited discussions, Qin Feng's gaze fell on 3 people in the elder's seat. Many of the elders in the seats were also important figures in the capital of stars. Normally, anyone who saw them would have to respectfully greet them. However, these 3 people in front of them made these elders dare not slight them. Occasionally, they would look over with a trace of curiosity in their eyes. It was obvious that these 3 people's positions were slightly higher than the elders. Listening to the surrounding discussions, it turned out that these 3 people were actually 3 of the top 10 inner disciples of Xingqian school. The 9th-ranked Yuan Chuxing, the 5th-ranked Mo Zishi, and the 3rd-ranked Huolei. The top 10 inner disciples were said to be the peerless prodigies in Xingqian school who had the highest chance of advancing to the martial overlord realm. In Xingqian school, they were known as the top 10 little tycoons. These people had extremely strong backgrounds and great influence. Every one of them was no small matter. After the elders took their seats, an elder went on stage to announce the rules and rewards of the tournament. There were several types of prizes for this year's competition. A set of low-level true martial realm cultivation method. Outer sect disciple status. The training time in Longquan Valley was 3 months. The most eye-catching one was the new fief at the end. This was a newly opened town located in the periphery of the savage desolate region. The value of such a newly opened town was immeasurable, not to mention the ore veins and resources of the ferocious beasts around the town. It was easy for such a small town to raise a 1,000-year-old family. In particular, this town was extraordinary. It was located at the border of the Savage Desolation region. This was like having a vanguard station in the Savage Desolation region. The profits were unimaginable. It was enough for a 1,000-year-old clan to take another step forward. The rewards were so generous that even Qin Feng was tempted. As for the other participating disciples, their eyes had lit up long ago, and their eyes were filled with dense battle intent. They wished for nothing more than to immediately charge up and seize the top 10 positions so that they could take all the benefits for themselves. After the announcement of the rewards, they were divided into groups of 10. The elders seemed to have made a decision long ago, and the 4 heads were consciously separated. Qin Feng was assigned to the first group, Ji Huang was assigned to the second group, Qi Ling was assigned to the third group, and Lu Tianjun was assigned to the 4th group. When the 4 of them separated, Ji Huang glanced at the black-clothed youth in the distance. Flames rose in her eyes, and a surge of battle intent seemed to have materialized. Qin Feng's first opponent was a disciple of the Tortoise Academy. His name was Chong Kun. After the announcement of the opponents, the competition officially began. Chong Kun looked very ordinary, but his aura was not ordinary. He carried a first-class long saber on his back, and his eyes were very domineering. Standing on the arena, Chong Kun slowly removed the long saber on his back. A pitch-black saber appeared in his hand, and the blade of the saber carried a cold light. After he removed the saber, an iron-blooded murderous aura was naturally emitted from his body. Chong Kun stared coldly at Qin Feng and said, "Qin Feng, I heard that you are a 4th-grade alchemist. I think your strength should be supported by elixirs, but it's useless. A high cultivation level is not the same as a strong strength. I will tell you that your so-called cultivation level is nothing in front of real strength. Every true elite was a person who had experienced hundreds of battles and had the belief that they would win. Qin Feng had shown great strength before and even defeated Zhao Xianmeng, which shocked many geniuses for a while. But he still couldn't be completely convinced, especially after the Starlight Spirit Tide. Chong Kun was one of them. He had made up his mind to take advantage of this opportunity to completely suppress Qin Feng and show off his power in front of the inner disciples. He would use Qin Feng as a stepping stone to reach the sky in one step. Qin Feng was expressionless as he looked at Chang Kuan indifferently. Chang Kuan was very strong, and his aura had already broken through the meridian's condensation realm. Qin Feng scanned Chang Kuan's body with his huge divine sense. There were 2 spiritual veins, emitting a pale yellow light in Chang Kuan's body. There was a domineering saber essence on his body. Domineering saber essence. As everyone knew, those who comprehended saber essence and sword essence were usually the kings of the same realm. However, not enough. Qin Feng wasn't condensing the star true power of the ordinary meridian's condensation realm, but the void true power of the Sea of Reincarnation realm experts. Not to mention the terrifying quality of the original incipient realm, just the void true power was enough to defeat Chang Kuan easily. Not to mention the 2 great abilities that Qin Feng had as his trump card. Qin Feng closed his eyes and rested. Chang Kuan was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. At this juncture, Qin Feng still had his eyes closed. Wasn't this obviously looking down on him? Chang Kuan's face was gloomy as he looked at the black-clothed youth with murderous intent. At this moment, an elder walked up and looked at the 2 people in the ring. Then, he opened his mouth and said, "Begin." As soon as the referee finished speaking, Chang Kuan's figure suddenly moved. His eyes revealed a trace of ruthlessness as his figure instantly appeared above Qin Feng's head. He flew up, grabbed the long saber, and slashed at Qin Feng's head. Although Qin Feng had his eyes closed, the moment Chang Kuan flew up, his powerful divine sense locked onto the flaw that Chang Kuan revealed when he flew up. Abdomen. Qin Feng didn't open his eyes. He raised one hand and suddenly, an invisible light ball appeared in his palm. Qin Feng turned his palm and pressed it. This light ball was like a meteor, and in the next moment it bombarded Chang Kuan's abdomen. Divine ability, Earth's Roar. This was a divine ability that he obtained from the giant Earth Rhinoceros King. This divine ability was originally an ordinary profound rank divine ability, which was condensed by Qin Feng using his void true power. Its might was terrifyingly great. Bang! A huge explosion suddenly came from mid-air, causing the void to tremble. A figure broke through the air and flew out. Bang! The sound of a heavy object falling to the ground. Clang! A long saber fell next to Chang Kuan. Chang Kuan spat out a mouthful of blood. He lifted his head to look at Qin Feng, then his head tilted to one side, and he fainted. Chang Kuan, who was a little famous in the Black Tortoise Academy, was defeated in one move. This scene stunned all the elders who were ready to watch a good show. Chapter 381. This brat actually has such tyrannical strength, defeating Chang Kuan in one move. We must find a way to get rid of him as soon as possible. On the elder seats, Huolei's face was gloomy. Huolei and Yi Ding were sworn brothers, and Huolei had always been paying attention to Qin Feng. Qin Feng's first battle ended early, and the other groups were still fighting. With nothing to do, Qin Feng stopped to watch, and it was quite a feeling of opening his eyes. All Stars College was indeed worthy of being the gathering place of geniuses. There were many fighting methods and all kinds of strange techniques. Even with Qin Feng's vision, Qin Feng couldn't help but feel dazzled. For example, one of the geniuses actually cultivated an ancient saber technique. His attainments in saber Dao were 10 times more powerful than Chang Kuan. He sent his opponent flying with one slash. There was also a genius who cultivated a set of divine flame 10,000 crow technique, condensing countless flame crows with his every move and blasting his opponent out of the ring. Each of the rings was brilliant, and it was an eye-opener. At this time, Ji Huang-er had also finished her first match. Qin Feng and Ji Huang-er's eyes met, and they were both slightly stunned. Ji Huang-er's expression changed, and the corner of her mouth revealed a trace of a sneer. She approached Qin Feng's side and suddenly said, "Qin Feng, your second opponent is Liang Zhou, the genius who cultivated the divine flame 10,000 crow technique, and my opponent is Spear King Peng Yu. Their strength is equal, why don't we make a bet? Smelling that body fragrance that was like orchids and musk, Qin Feng sighed inwardly. Raising his head, Qin Feng said, "What do you want to bet? Let's bet on who will defeat the opponent first?" Ji Huang raised her chin and sneered. "How about it, do you dare to bet?" "Why wouldn't I dare?" Qin Feng looked at the confident red-clothed girl. "What do you want to bet?" "A spiritual fire. I heard that you purchased 12 types of top-grade spirit fire from the contribution hall in one go. It just so happens that I also have a rare spirit fire in my hand. Why don't we use it as a wager?" Ji Huang's pair of phoenix eyes stared at Qin Feng, full of provocation. "So it turns out that he's after the spiritual fire in my body." Qin Feng felt energized. Although he had successfully cultivated the primal chaos flame divine ability, it didn't mean that he didn't need any more spirit fires. On the contrary, every time he integrated more spirit fires, the primal chaos flame divine ability would become stronger. If he could refine dozens of spiritual fires, Qin Feng would have the power to kill even a martial arts giant with one strike. "All right, I promise you." With a thought, a golden flame appeared in Qin Feng's palm. "Suihua?" Ji Huang's eyes lit up as she lightly snorted. A cold and gloomy blue flame appeared on her palm. Lunar spiritual fire. Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. He once had the idea of this kind of spirit fire in the galaxy, but because the people of the Sun-Moon Sword sect made trouble, he didn't succeed. He didn't expect to see this kind of top-grade spirit fire in Ji Huang's hands after a month. Ji Huang glanced at the flame on Qin Feng's palm with a hint of joy in her eyes. "In that case, let's wait and see." Glancing coldly at the black-clothed youth, Ji Huang turned and left. "Stupid girl, thinking of ways to empty out my family. Let's ride a donkey and read a songbook. Let's wait and see." Qin Feng's eyes revealed a trace of a cunning smile. 2 hours later, the second round of the group stage began. This round was the advancement of 20 to 10. The winner of this round would be considered to have advanced and directly entered the top 10 of the grade. Then, they could directly advance to the All-Star Finals and participate in the final game. The remaining 20 people were all powerful people. Qin Feng turned his head. The Azure Dragon Institute's performance was considered good. Among the 10 people from the Azure Dragon Institute, Lu Qingxue, Yuan Daozhen, Xiao Yuchan, Lu Kanyang, and Qian Kai successfully advanced. Only Zhou Yuhe, Zhao Ing, Li Qiubai, and Wang Shaoxing were eliminated. Among the 10 people, 6 entered the second round. On the side, Elder Nan Feng's face was smiling like a chrysanthemum. This time, he had gained a lot of face. After a round of grouping, the second round officially began. Qin Feng's opponent was a red-robed youth. His eyebrows were like flames as he stared at Qin Feng with scorching eyes. "Qin Feng, I heard that you are an alchemist. Alchemists have an extraordinary understanding of flames and are experts in playing with fire. I wonder if you can withstand my divine flame 10,000 crow technique." Facing Qin Feng, Liang Zhou was quite confident. This came from his understanding of the divine flame 10,000 crow technique. This divine flame 10,000 crow technique wasn't as simple as he showed it to others. It was an ancient divine ability that had been passed down since ancient times. The true divine flame 10,000 crow technique was cultivated by finding the best quality spirit crows. Once executed, countless spirit crows would form a 10,000 crow formation that would cover the sky and earth. When the divine flame 10,000 crow technique was cultivated to the highest level, it could even refine the opponent into a fire crow and control it. Liang Zhou had studied Qin Feng's first battle. Chang Kuan lost because of his carelessness. In his carelessness, Qin Feng seized the opportunity and used the Earth Roar technique to blast out lightning. This wasn't a big deal. It only meant that Chang Kuan was weaker than expected. Liang Zhou was confident that he could defeat this Azure Dragon Institute's first seat. Qin Feng was indifferent. Dressed in a black robe, he looked abnormally cold. Countless gazes fell on the arena. In many people's eyes, this was going to be a fierce battle. It seems like the two of them are very popular. On the elder's stand, Yuan Chuxing looked at the two people in the arena with a smile. The nearby Mo Zishi smiled. Azure Dragon's head seat, Qin Feng. He's a renowned 15-year-old grade 4 alchemist and the Medicine King Hall's chief alchemist. Even among the elite disciples, there are rumors about him. But based on his ability from before, he's indeed very strong. Huolei sneered when he heard this. Alchemy is alchemy. A grade 4 alchemist does have a little reputation, but it doesn't represent that his strength is very strong. This is the All-Star Martial Assembly, not some alchemist competition. Huolei paused for a moment and said, if one doesn't have strength, then no matter how strong the alchemist's natural talent is, they'll transform into a pile of dirt in the end. Yuan Chuxing and Mo Zishi's eyes flashed as they glanced at each other. Senior brother Huolei seems to have some opinions about Qin Feng. On the arena, an elder flew down and landed on the arena. He glanced at the two of them and said, begin. The instant the elder announced the start of the match, Qin Feng's enormous divine sense began to surge. As the majestic divine sense revolved, an enormous pressure suddenly appeared in the void and descended, piercing through Liang Zhou's spiritual altar. Liang Zhou's muscles stiffened. In the next moment, he felt a bone-chilling force suddenly appear in his spiritual sea and transform into countless heavenly flames. Looking at Liang Zhou, whose eyes were dull and whose spiritual sense was completely suppressed by divine sense, Qin Feng's enormous divine sense swept out. A snow-white bolt of lightning seemed to appear in the void. The enormous divine sense struck Liang Zhou. Without any resistance, Liang Zhou's figure flew out. Bang! A figure instantly fell out of the arena. Qin Feng mobilized his divine sense twice, but the process was extremely fast. In the eyes of the people outside, they only saw a flash of white light and Liang Zhou flew out of the arena inexplicably. The entire process was inexplicable. In the elders' seats, the group of elders, including Yuan Chuxing, Mo Zishi, and Huolei, stood up with faces full of shock. This is divine sense. Chapter 382. As everyone knew, divine perception was a power unique to Sea Reincarnation Realm expert. Qin Feng was actually able to execute his divine perception. Even some of the elders present felt ashamed of their inferiority when they saw his massive surging divine perception, instantly defeating a genius of the same level with a single thought. Not only were the elders and inner court disciples surprised, but the geniuses of All Stars College were also in disbelief. On the other stage, Ji Huang-er was already stunned. In less than a breath's time, he defeated the previously famous Liang Zhou. Such strength was simply unimaginable. This new head seat isn't simple. At this moment, many elders finally stopped treating Qin Feng as a junior disciple and treated him as an equal. However, some geniuses treated Qin Feng as a formidable opponent. Many people in the crowd who had come to collect information quietly dispersed. Looking at this, Qin Feng shrugged his shoulders. At the corner, Qian Kai's sharp eyes watched this scene as his expression changed. In his mind, a chuckle sounded. How is it, little guy? Do you feel a lot of pressure? Qian Kai snorted and said in disdain. It's just divine perception. It's nothing. I cultivate the immemorial poison god's inheritance technique, the divine decay technique. Not to mention a mere divine perception, even a Sea Reincarnation Realm expert would have their flesh and blood fester and their soul decayed. What pressure do I have? Qian Kai felt uncomfortable. Qian Kai originally thought that he would be able to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat after his strength improved greatly. He never expected that this old rival of Qin Feng's had also improved by leaps and bounds. Supreme Spirit Ruins ridiculed. Kid, don't deceive yourself. Qin Feng exposed his divine perception in the second round. This means that he doesn't care about divine perception. He must have a trump card that's even more terrifying than divine perception. So what if he has a trump card? I also have a trump card. If I unleash my full strength, not to mention a mere Qin Feng, even a sea reincarnation realm existence would have to be wary of me. Qian Kai sneered. Qin Feng is nothing. My target is the top 10 of the All-Star Martial Assembly. A new expert like him can't even enter the top 100. Supreme Spiritual Ruins was secretly shocked when he heard that. This brat really talks big. Could it be that he really has some sort of trump card? But how come I don't know about it? Right, for the past half-month, I've been feeling inexplicably tired. I originally thought that it was because Qin Feng had plundered my soul force, causing me to suffer from internal injuries. Could it be that this brat did something to me? Supreme Spiritual Ruins was jolted awake. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was amiss and the more wary he was of Qian Kai. This old bastard is testing me. This old bastard really does not have good intentions. Fortunately, Master reminded me, otherwise I would have really suffered a great loss from him. Thinking about how this person wanted to detonate the fiend Nether Spring, Qian Kai's predecessor was filled with killing intent. I'll wait for a period of time. So long as the time is ripe, I'll completely devour this old bastard that harbors ill intentions and establish a supreme foundation to break through to the sea rebirth realm in one go. Junior Martial Brother Qin, I didn't expect you to have such high attainments in the Tao of medicine refinement. You haven't fallen behind in your cultivation either. Elder Nan Feng landed beside Qin Feng with a smile on his face. After he finished speaking, he glanced at Liang Zhou, who was carried away from the ground, and said, Liang Zhou is really pitiful. If he didn't encounter you, he might have the chance to enter the top 10 of the year. He felt slightly regretful as he continued. But Junior Martial Brother Qin Feng, you have to be careful from now on. After the second round of the competition, all of you will enter the most critical phase of the All-Star Martial Meeting. According to my knowledge, the All-Star Martial Meeting this time can't be compared to the previous years. There are many peerless geniuses within it, and even I'm unable to go against them. Qin Feng was slightly serious as he nodded. However, it doesn't matter even if you can't enter the top 10. With your attainments in the Tao of Alchemy, you'll definitely be able to enter the top 10. With your attainments in the Tao of Medicine Refinement, the sect will place emphasis on fostering you. Elder Nan Feng's words slightly didn't look favorably upon Qin Feng's strength. This was normal. It was rare for new students to be able to enter the second round of the All-Star Martial Meeting every year, and it was extremely rare for them to be able to enter the third round. The corners of Qin Feng's mouth curled to reveal a trace of a light smile when he heard Elder Nan Feng. Elder Nan Feng misunderstood Qin Feng's meaning and thought that Qin Feng had started to accept his fate, so he spoke with a smile right away. Actually, being able to enter the top 10 of the year isn't enough. The rewards for the top 10 of the year this time are extremely considerable, and there's even a town. If Junior Martial Brother Qin wants to establish your own clan, then you're entirely free to make a move. If you don't want to manage it yourself, you can entrust it to some great clans in the capital of stars, and you'll be able to obtain a considerable amount of wealth every year. After chatting with Elder Nan Feng for a short moment, the other groups had finished successively, and the results were out. Besides Qin Feng, the top 10 of the year this time were Ji Huang Qi Ling Lu Tianjun, Lu Qingxue, Zhang Sunwia, Qian Kai, Ling Dushu, Yang Qing, and Wan Jiani. The Azure Dragon Academy caused everyone to exclaim with admiration this time. Besides Qin Feng, Lu Qingxue, Qian Kai, and Zhang Sunwia had entered the top 10, and 4 of the top 10 of the year were actually from the Azure Dragon Academy. The other academies were much inferior in comparison. The Vermilion Bird Academy's results were dismal, and only Ji Huang the first seat of the Vermilion Bird Academy, entered the top 10 of the year. The White Tiger Academy's results were much better. Besides the first seat Qi Ling there was also the Sword King Ling Dushu and the first seat Yang Cheng. What shocked everyone was Yang Cheng's performance. This genius who had been pushed down from the first seat by Qi Ling actually chased after her step by step, and his cultivation didn't seem to be any weaker than Qi Ling-er's. The Black Tortoise Academy was also dismal, and only the first seat of the Black Tortoise Academy, Lu Tianjun, entered the top 10 of the year. Below the stage, hundreds of gazes landed on the 10 of them, and they were filled with envy, passion, unwillingness, and even more reverence. In the Azure Dragon Academy, Yuan Daozhen, Lu Kenyang, and Xiao Yuchan were all eliminated. Below the stage, Qin Feng's 2 strongest competitors, Lu Kenyang and Xiao Yuchan, had mixed feelings. During the trial in the snow region, the 2 of them had crossed swords with Qin Feng. The 3 of them were like fire and water, and they were each other's archenemies, chasing each other. However, at this moment, the 2 of them felt a kind of distance. It was a kind of distance that made them feel hopeless. Liang Zhou was an absolute powerhouse to the 2 of them, and he was their archenemy. However, in front of Qin Feng, he was silently defeated with just a thought. This kind of strength, this kind of gap, made the 2 of them feel unreconciled and helpless. As for the others, they were even more numb. Among the crowd, Du Pingxiao was even more disappointed. She was the first one to fall behind. Originally, they were called the top 10 new disciples of the Azure Dragon Academy during the trial in the snow region. However, in just half a year, she was completely left behind. Even looking at her back, she felt that she was far behind. In the crowd, Zhao Zhijing, Li Zhuang, Li Qiubai, and the others were also at a loss. This kind of change was something that they, who were known as geniuses in their families, had never experienced before. This kind of gap made the other geniuses feel depressed, and they couldn't stand it. For example, Su Fei, the genius Qin Feng, who was also from the mountain river city. In another corner, a white-clothed girl bit her lip until it bled. She stared angrily at Qin Feng, and the disbelief in her eyes made her pretty face look ferocious. This wasn't anyone else but Guan Ruolin, who had escaped the calamity when Qin Feng destroyed the Guan family. The eruption will be postponed for a day, and there will be an event tomorrow. However, in order to prevent some people from waiting too long, the eruption will be held at 12:05 in the morning. After the eruption, it will be the same as before, at 4 o'clock every day. Chapter 383. The second day of the All-Star Finals began. All Stars College under the night sky had become a bright pearl, and countless geniuses rarely gathered here. It had become a sea of joy. Qin Feng could not remember how many students and elders he had sent away. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door. Qin Feng frowned, and his huge divine sense swept out. Suddenly, his face lit up, and with a wave of his sleeve, the door opened. A tall girl in fiery red clothes appeared at the door. She was tall and slender, graceful, and the night wind blew her long hair, brimming with youth. Qin Feng, this is the bet. Her expression was cold, and with a wave of her sleeve, an ice crystal-sealed spiritual fire seed flew over. Qin Feng grabbed it and glanced at the sealed extreme spiritual fire in his palm. Ji Huanger turned around and left. Why, junior sister Ji, don't you want to stay a little longer? Qin Feng's voice came from behind. Ji Huanger turned around and said with a light snort, Is there anything else to talk about between us? Qin Feng casually patted the seal and suddenly sucked the extreme spiritual fire into his body like noodles, slowly refining it. This action made Ji Huanger's eyebrows rise one by one. A trace of joy flashed in her eyes. After refining the extreme Yin spiritual fire, the strength of the chaos fire great divine ability would definitely be strong. Raising his head, Qin Feng said with a smile. There are many things we can talk about between us, such as what hobbies junior sister Ji has, what treasures she likes, or whether junior sister Ji has any marriage contracts set up by her family. Boring. Ji Huang'er glared fiercely at Qin Feng and turned to leave. If we don't talk about this, we can also talk about the 9 revolutions spiritual fire great divine ability that junior sister Ji cultivates. Ji Huang'er's footsteps suddenly stopped, and she suddenly turned around, her gaze falling on Qin Feng. Qin Feng touched his nose, not knowing that he was secretly surprised. If it wasn't for the idea just now, he might not have noticed the clues with his divine sense. What else do you know? A trace of coldness suddenly appeared in Ji Huang'er's eyes. The 9 revolutions spiritual fire great divine ability is a fire attribute great divine ability. Every time one obtains a spiritual fire, one's understanding of fire will become stronger. If one can gather 9 spiritual fires, one can reach the elementary stage. If one can gather 18 spiritual fires, one can reach the minor stage. If one can gather 36 spiritual fires, one can reach the great perfection stage. Qin Feng paused for a moment. Also, if there are subsequent secret arts, I might be able to take the opportunity to observe the essence of fire burning the 3 worlds, an unparalleled great technique that ranks 95th on the list of techniques. If you can truly grasp the inferno of the 3 realms, at that time, you will also become a god of fire and cultivate the body of a fire god. You actually know all the mysteries of the 9 revolutions spiritual fire. Ji Huang'er stared at Qin Feng in shock. The 9 revolutions spiritual fire great divine ability was an absolute art that the Ji clan did not pass down. It was only one of the 3 great clan-suppressing true inheritances. Even Ji Huang'er, the first daughter of the patriarch, had only learned of this secret cultivation method half a year ago. Ji Huang'er's heart was violently shaken. Junior martial sister Ji should have collected a few types of spiritual fire, right? But from the looks of it, you haven't even cultivated the 9 revolutions spiritual fire divine ability to perfection. It seems like you're still far from cultivating the 9 revolutions spiritual fire divine ability. Ji Huang'er's face was as if she had seen a ghost. Qin Feng was not wrong at all. She was indeed cultivating the 9 revolutions spiritual fire great divine ability, but the most basic 9 minor divine abilities had not yet reached the great perfection stage. You are missing several spiritual fires. Qin Feng casually told her the reason. How do you know the cultivation method of my Ji clan's true inheritance? The chill in Ji Huang'er's eyes became stronger and stronger. A true inheritance was the foundation of a sect or clan. If it wasn't for the fact that she didn't have the confidence to deal with Qin Feng, Ji Huang'er would have immediately captured Qin Feng and interrogated him for the reason. Qin Feng was somewhat disapproving. In terms of a great divine ability, not to mention a great divine ability, Qin Feng had the cultivation method of most of the great divine abilities ranked in the top 100 of the divine ability list. The problem was that knowing how to cultivate was one thing, and whether or not he could cultivate it was another. Don't be so hostile to me. The reason why I said this is because I want to make a deal with you. Qin Feng stood up and his figure appeared at the door, looking at the few peach blossom trees in the courtyard. The few peach blossoms were exceptionally gorgeous. The pink color digested and fell, bringing with it a refreshing fragrance. Ji Huang'er's expression changed. She had already guessed what Qin Feng wanted to say. She was not stupid, but she was momentarily intimidated by Qin Feng. At this time, when she came back to her senses, she immediately knew what Qin Feng was planning. You want to exchange spiritual fires? That's right. At this time, I have 13 spiritual fires in my body. You can choose a few spiritual fires to trade. This will be beneficial to both you and me. Qin Feng cultivated the primal chaos fire great divine ability, which was similar to the 9 revolutions spiritual fire great divine ability. Every time he refined and fused with a new spiritual fire, his strength would increase by a bit. A variety of spiritual fires appeared on Qin Feng's palm. True Sun Fire, Heaven and Earth Fire, Crimson Fiend Spirit Fire, Green Lotus Demonic Fire, Green Luan True Fire, Scale Blood True Fire, Ewood Green Fire, Nanmingli Fire, True Dragonly Fire, Formless Heart Fire, 9 Nether Spirit Fire, and the last one that Ji Huang'er was most familiar with, the Burning Heaven Blood Flame, were also among them. Each of them was a supreme-grade spiritual fire, and they exuded a shocking power. Ji Huang'er sucked in a breath of cold air. He actually gathered so many spiritual fires. At this moment, Ji Huang'er was moved, and a trace of strong color flashed through her eyes. If she could kill the black-clothed youth in front of her and plunder these fire seeds in the next moment, Ji Huang'er extinguished this thought. Since Qin Feng knew the 9 revolutions spiritual fire great divine ability, and he had so many spiritual fires, thinking of this possibility, Ji Huang'er's body trembled. Taking a deep breath, Ji Huang'er's eyes moved, and 2 spiritual fires appeared on her palm. One was as black as ink, and as soon as it appeared, even the void was corroded. There was a faint, terrifying power that could even refine gods and devils. This is the primordial poison flame condensed from the endless poisonous gas, baleful qi, yin qi, evil qi, and other terrifying negative essence in the earth lung. Rumor has it that this flame is one of the Hotian true spirits, the primordial poison dragon's life flame. You can actually get such a terrifying thing. Qin Feng's eyes lit up. This primordial poison flame was the legendary divine fire. This kind of terrifying thing, even a martial arts powerhouse would have a headache if they were tainted by a trace of it. Ji Huang'er actually had such a background, which was greatly beyond Qin Feng's expectations. His gaze swept across, and when it landed on the second flame, Qin Feng's eyes erupted with a layer of golden light. The origin of this second flame was actually even greater. This was a flame that presented the image of a pure white light, like a lamp of hope. In this flame, Qin Feng seemed to see the primitive scene of the Sui sovereign drilling wood to make fire, and countless people were full of hope and worship. With just a glance, Qin Feng felt that the countless negative thoughts in his heart disintegrated like ice, and his soul seemed to be attracted to take the initiative, like a moth flying into a flame, into this pure white flame. Chapter 384. This is the fire of hope, the divine fire of heaven and earth that only exists in legends. Qin Feng's expression was shocked. I didn't expect you to have such knowledge, to actually recognize the fire of hope among the divine fires of heaven and earth. Ji Huang'er looked at Qin Feng in surprise, her eyes revealing a trace of surprise. She looked at the pure white flame on her palm and said, "A single spark can start a prairie fire." This fire of hope was originally just an ordinary flame, but it was contaminated with too much hope. After countless people worshipped it, it became a kind of divine fire. Ji Huang'er's eyes revealed a trace of a sigh. Back then, an ancestor of my Ji clan passed by an abandoned temple and encountered this rare fire of hope in the statue. Holding that wisp of fire of hope, that ancestor was once famous for a time, and even used it to burn countless strong enemies to death, including many old antiques. The ancestor of the Ji clan, rumor has it that there was a great emperor in the primordial era, who also seemed to be surnamed Ji. Thinking to himself, Qin Feng's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. Turning around, Ji Huang'er's gaze fell on Qin Feng. Qin Feng, I also know that you are also cultivating a fire attribute great divine ability. My requirements are not high. Of my 2 spiritual fire, the ancient poison flame can be exchanged for 3 of your spiritual fire, and the fire of hope can be exchanged for 5 of your spiritual fire. Hearing this, Qin Feng was startled at first, but then he suddenly sneered. Junior Sister Ji, you are asking for too much. I admit that your two spiritual fire are both top-notch spiritual fire, and the fire of hope is the legendary divine fire of heaven and earth. However, the spiritual fire that I control is not an ordinary spiritual fire, but a top-grade spiritual fire. Even though there is a gap between them and the spiritual fire in your hands, it is definitely not as big as you imagine. After saying that, Qin Feng paused for a moment and said, What's more, the two spiritual fire in your hands have a huge flaw. Don't think that I am some ignorant fool. Flaw. Ji Huang'er's eyes flashed with a strange light and she said calmly. What flaw? These two spiritual fire, any expert with them is enough to sweep through for a while. How could there be a flaw? You're still trying to trick me. If you didn't know about these flaws, would you be so generous as to exchange them with me? Sneering in his heart, Qin Feng glanced at the red-clothed girl who was still calm. Then, his gaze fell on the ink-black flame. Since you're unwilling to give up, I'll point out the flaws one by one. First of all, although the ancient poison flame is extremely powerful and contains a highly toxic energy that can even poison a martial arts giant to death, this ancient poison flame is the most unruly and dangerous. In order to refine this terrifying poison flame, unless you specialize in poison attacks, have a treasure that repels poison, or have a slight chance of subduing this spirit flame, if an ordinary expert were to absorb it into their body, tsk, there's no guarantee that they'll be directly poisoned to death. Qin Feng glanced at Ji Huang. A trace of unnaturalness flashed past Ji Huang'er's delicate and fair skin. As for the second fire of hope, although it's one of the heaven and earth divine fires, it's the most peculiar one. Hope is the most illusory, so the power of this heaven and earth divine fire can be big or small. When it's strong, it may be able to kill a demon god, but when it's weak, it's not even enough to ignite a piece of firewood. After saying that, Qin Feng chuckled. As far as I know, the fire of hope has appeared many times since ancient times, but apart from the Void Emperor, it seems that no one else has been able to activate this divine fire. Listening to Qin Feng's teasing words, Ji Huang'er's pretty face revealed a trace of dark red. Seeing that this girl was about to explode, Qin Feng hurriedly said, However, we really can't ignore their value. Glancing at Ji Huang'er, Qin Feng muttered to himself, How about this, let's exchange one for two. For the ancient poison flame and the fire of hope, I'll take out 4 types of top-grade spiritual fire to exchange with you. What do you think? This is also my compensation for taking your burning heaven blood flame last time. Qin Feng was very sincere. Looking at Qin Feng's eyes, Ji Huang'er's expression that was about to explode slightly stagnated. Looking at the 2 tyrannical spiritual fire in her hands, Ji Huang'er hesitated. Ji Huang'er was unwilling to give these 2 top-grade spiritual fire to Qin Feng. Moreover, Ji Huang'er knew the character of the black-clothed youth in front of her. This person's character was vile, cunning, and sinister. He had always been someone who wouldn't act until he saw a rabbit. From the last time they met, he had taken away her burning heaven blood flame. It was as if there was a gap. But what Qin Feng said was indeed the truth. These 2 spiritual fires did have all kinds of restrictions, and even she herself did not dare to smelt them. After thinking about it, Ji Huang'er finally bit her lower lip. These 2 spiritual fires still had to be exchanged. If I can obtain 4 spiritual fires, the cultivation of the 9 revolutions spiritual fire great divine ability will be successful. With this 9 revolutions spiritual fire great divine ability, I might be able to reach the top 10 of the martial arts competition this time. After secretly making up her mind, Ji Huang'er's gaze fell on Qin Feng. Sure, but I want to exchange for 5 spiritual fires. The ancient poison flame for your green Luan true fire, Nanming Li fire, fire of hope for your second wood clear goods, green lotus demonic fire, and heaven and earth flint fire. Ji Huang mainly took a fancy to the green Luan true fire and Nanming Li fire on Qin Feng's body. These were the spiritual fires that the burning heaven sparrow in her body needed. The green Luan true fire came from the divine bird Qing Luan, and the Nanming Li fire came from the innate true spirit vermilion bird. The divine bird Qing Luan and the vermilion bird both had the bloodline of the phoenix. The burning heaven sparrow also had the bloodline of the phoenix. If it obtained these two spiritual fires, the bloodline in the burning heaven sparrow's body would take another step forward. Hearing Ji Huang's words, Qin Feng's face sank. He frowned, looking rather unwilling. In fact, Qin Feng's heart was blooming with joy. This silly girl finally took the bait. I didn't waste my breath in vain. This silly girl doesn't understand at all. No matter how big the flaws of these two top flames are, they are still top flames in the end. Especially the fire of hope, its value is simply unimaginable. Even if a divine demon powerhouse obtains it, it can still play a great role. If these two flames were sold to the All-Stars College auction, not to mention 4 spiritual fires, even if it were 40 spiritual fires, those old antiques would come over. Fortunately, this silly girl was fooled into thinking, I can't be too happy. I have to be reserved. Don't let this silly girl see any clues. Qin Feng resisted the urge to laugh, and nodded his head after a moment. Fine, although 5 spiritual fires are a bit expensive, you and I are from the same sect after all. We'll see each other all the time. You owe me a favor. Hearing that Qin Feng agreed to the deal, Ji Huang breathed a sigh of relief. A trace of a beautiful smile appeared between her eyebrows. Her smile was like a blooming flower, beautiful beyond compare. Qin Feng stared blankly and was slightly startled. This silly girl is actually so beautiful? What are you looking at, bitch? Ji Huang's face instantly turned stiff, but there was still a hint of joy between her eyebrows. That woman didn't want to be praised. Especially when she saw that this man was such an outstanding, peerless genius. Of course, the sentence above was purely Qin Feng's narcissistic imagination. With a wave of his hand, the 5 spiritual fires appeared on his palm one by one. The 5 spiritual fires each separated into a tiny flame seed. Qin Feng's eyes moved slightly as he activated the Great Primal Chaos Seal. With a raise of his hand, he sealed the 5 spiritual fires and turned them into 5 ice crystals and threw them to Ji Huang. At the same time, Ji Huang took out a jade box and handed it to Qin Feng. Qin Feng took it and opened the jade box. 2 sealed flames appeared in his eyes. Chapter 385. Although Ji Huang came from a large family clan, she was still fooled by Qin Feng due to her age and cultivation level. Although she was intelligent and knew far more than her peers, she was still fooled by him. Only half a year later did Ji Huang realize how foolish of a decision she had made. Ji Huang left in satisfaction after obtaining the 5 spirit fires. Before she left, her impression of Qin Feng had changed. Perhaps this pervert isn't as treacherous as I imagined. I must have been prejudiced by first impressions and misunderstood him. Before Ji Huang left, she glanced at Qin Feng. She was very satisfied with exchanging for the 5 spirit fires. His gaze landed on the 2 spirit fires in the box, especially the fire of hope. Qin Feng's eyes burned with passion. If the 2 spirit fires were in the hands of others, they might not be able to produce their full strength. They might even be harmed instead. However, Qin Feng was different. Be it the primordial poison flame or the fire of hope, Qin Feng was confident that he could completely subdue, refine, and stimulate their true strength. If I can refine such a top spirit fire into my chaos fire great divine power, Qin Feng's heart burned. After sending the jade box into the chaos heavens for safekeeping, Qin Feng scanned the courtyard and said, "Come out. You have been hiding in the courtyard listening for so long. Aren't you going to come out and have a seat?" The courtyard was silent. A few palace lanterns illuminated the corridor. The pink petals of the peach trees swayed as they emitted a refreshing fragrance. Qin Feng circulated his connate divine power, ocean control, which had reached the 4th level. After absorbing the charms of the spring of life, the connate divine power had a new ability. Qin Feng could sense the changes in the surrounding life forms at all times. Under Qin Feng's powerful psyche, the vital forces of the rats, earthworms, cockroaches, spiders, and other tiny creatures in the soil beneath his feet were clearly reflected. In the courtyard there were shrubs, grasses, and even peach trees. Every plant had its own life force. Although Qin Feng couldn't control life, extract, condense, or intercept life force, he could clearly sense the abnormality of the life force around him. Qin Feng's gaze landed on a peach tree. It was an ordinary peach tree, only about 7 or 8 years old. However, this peach tree had more vitality than some 1,000-year-old trees. From here, a pair of eyes vaguely appeared, staring at his room. "Since you don't want to come out, then I'll ask you to come out." Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a sharp light. Qin Feng waved his hand, and with a clang, a stream of light in the room landed on Qin Feng's palm, holding the dark north godly water sword. Chaos Tidal Extinction, 8th Sword. After cultivating the void true power, the 8th layer of the primordial chaos tide was completed almost instantly. A surge of void true power poured into the north underworld godly water sword. Qin Feng slashed in the air. An icy blue sword light that was like a shooting star flooded a peach tree that was 10 zhang away like a tide with a loud rumble. Bang! As graceful as a swan, countless petals rose from the peach tree like flowing water. Countless flower petals turned and transformed into sharp blades that swept towards Qin Feng. Qin Feng's body turned cold. He looked up and felt that he had entered a domain full of petals. Countless petals swooped down. Domain power! The corner of Qin Feng's mouth curled into a sneer. The universe book in his body shook, and a majestic suction force burst out from all the pores on his body. Accompanied by an inaudible cry, the petal domain instantly shattered. At the same time, the dark north godly water sword in Qin Feng's hand shone brightly. Holding the dark north godly water sword, Qin Feng suddenly waved his wrist. His divine sense locked onto the flying petals, and he slashed in the air. The vast sword light was like a Milky Way, sweeping through the sky full of petals. Like tofu, the sky full of petals was drowned by the sword chi. Puchi! A layer of blood mist burst out from the sky. Bastard, you actually grew so fast! The remaining petals instantly flew out of the residence and disappeared in the night wind. You run pretty fast. Qin Feng held the dark north godly water sword and sneered. He didn't give chase. 1 hour later, in a large courtyard, a breeze flashed, and a black-clothed figure appeared in the air. The black figure had just recovered from the shock and looked in the direction of escape. Her beautiful eyes revealed a trace of horror. "Madam!" In the courtyard, dozens of servants with bright eyes walked over. The leading man, who looked like a housekeeper, looked at the miserable beautiful woman in shock. "Madam, are you all right?" The housekeeper was filled with worry. At this moment, a deep wound appeared on the beautiful woman's back. Fresh blood dyed her black clothes red, and a terrifying sword chi condensed and didn't dissipate. "I'm fine. This empress was only hit by a sword. I didn't expect Qin Feng to be even more terrifying than we imagined. His true force is especially strange. It's actually the void true force that only sea-wheel experts have. That terrifying void true force instantly tore apart my protective void true force. Under his sword, I actually felt like an infant." The beautiful woman's eyes flashed with a trace of deep palpitations. "If I wasn't proficient in the 100-flower escape technique, I would have been killed by his sword." And Ying's expression changed drastically. "What? He's actually so powerful?" Everyone had witnessed the strength of the Flower Empress. She was a true sea-wheel realm expert, and such an existence was actually chased by Qin Feng into such a miserable state. This was simply unbelievable. Madam, what should we do? Should we prepare to retreat? Anning was a little nervous. It's fine. This place isn't exposed. This empress was the one who accidentally exposed herself and was discovered by him. The beautiful woman waved her hand and looked at the wound on her back. A trace of coldness was faintly discernible in her eyes. As for the assassination of Qin Feng, I will deal with it after I recover from my injuries. A trace of coldness flashed in her eyes. This empress was careless this time and made the same mistake as the Yin sovereign. I underestimated this child because of my cultivation. This time I will treat it as a lesson. Next time, the ice-cold sneer spread in the air, and the flower empress figure disappeared in the night wind. After entering the top 10 of the year, Qin Feng and the other 8 had officially obtained the qualification to participate in the All-Stars College's martial arts tournament. The venue of the martial arts tournament wasn't at the Demon God Plaza. It was at the All-Stars Arena in the center of the capital of stars. It was a huge arena specially built by the ruler of the All-Stars College for the martial arts tournament that was held once every 4 years. As the ruler of the capital of stars, the martial arts tournament that was held once every 4 years by the All-Stars College wasn't just a grand event for the All-Stars College, it was also a grand event for the entire capital of stars. It didn't only attract the attention of martial artists, but it also attracted the attention of the royal family, dukes, nobles, and commoners. They all treated this tournament as a grand festival. Countless experts were rushing over from all directions. 2 months ago, the tickets for the All-Stars Arena were already fully booked by the royal family, dukes, and major clans experts. Chapter 386. Early in the morning, the mist was hazy. On the distant horizon, a red sun had just broken through the horizon. The arena of stars had already attracted a huge audience. The entrance of the arena, which could accommodate hundreds of thousands of people at the same time, was completely packed. So many spectators came so early, naturally, not to fight for seats. Every ticket corresponded to a seat. The reason why they came so early was for the young geniuses participating in the competition. Among them were many young girls who were yearning for love. These young girls were naturally here for the young geniuses. If they could catch one of them and bring them back to their families, it would be much better than becoming a sacrifice for their families. There were also many aristocrats from the large clans who were enjoying this as well. There was no doubt that those who could enter the arena of stars were geniuses among geniuses from All-Stars College. If they could rope in one of them or get to know one of them, it would undoubtedly be beneficial for their families. If they could get to know 1 or 2 monstrous geniuses, their families wouldn't have to worry for 1,000 years. At this time, with the arena of stars as the center, every street in the core area was empty. The surging tide of people rushed towards the arena of stars. Carriages and horses were like dragons, and the streets were crowded with people. Since a few days ago, all the inns, restaurants, and even the relay stations in the capital of stars were completely full. Many people had no choice but to wander on the street. For this competition, All Stars College even took many elders and outer sect elites from Xingqian School to maintain order. Thousands of fully armed sect elites didn't cause this grand event to become a disaster. How do I get in? Looking at the scene in front of him, Qin Feng scratched his head. The capital of stars couldn't fly. Do I have to use fire to rush in? Looking at the huge arena in the center of the capital of stars, Qin Feng hesitated. Junior brother Qin Feng, over here. Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded in his ear. Qin Feng raised his head and looked around. He was surprised to see a familiar voice on the street. Elder Nan Feng? With a flash of his green robe, Elder Nan Feng appeared beside Qin Feng and complained. Junior brother Qin, you made me look for you. I wanted to go to your courtyard to find you, but I didn't expect you to be up so early. Come with me, everyone is waiting for you. Moments later, Qin Feng met with Ji Huang Qi Ling Lu Tianjun and the others in a large manner. The three leading the group were none other than Elder Bei Feng, Elder Qin Feng, and Elder Ling Feng. Seeing Elder Nan Feng and Qin Feng's arrival, the three of them nodded slightly. Everyone's here, let's go. Elder Ling Feng's expression was cold. Qin Feng followed the group into the inner residence. Rumble. A path opened up in a rock garden. Light could be vaguely seen on the step. Elder Ling Feng took the lead and entered. Qin Feng walked to the end alone. For some unknown reason, Ji Huanger and Qin Feng walked side by side, surrounded by that pleasant body fragrance. Qin Feng's nose twitched, as if sensing Qin Feng's actions. The young girl angrily snorted. Shameless! The corner of Qin Feng's mouth twitched. After entering the rock garden, Qin Feng realized that there was actually another world under the capital of stars. A spacious underground space was opened up here, and there were many unique glass palace lanterns hanging above. This place leads directly to the arena of stars. It was specially dug out by All Stars College and has a history of over 1,000 years. It was built to deal with today's situation. Qin Feng turned around and looked. Qin Feng was a little surprised that the one who spoke was Lu Qingxue. Sensing Qin Feng's gaze, Lu Qingxue said, "Don't look at me like that, I just don't want you to lose too badly." Lose too badly? Qin Feng glanced sideways. That's not strange. You might not know, but what kind of existence are you going to face? What kind of existence? Qin Feng's interest was piqued. You won't understand. Lu Qingxue shook her head. I can only tell you that this year's All-Star Martial Assembly is different from the previous ones. In the previous All-Star Martial Assembly, the Sea Rebirth Realm is the king. If one is able to break through to the Sea Rebirth Realm, entering the top 10 is a sure thing. But in this year's All-Star Martial Assembly, not to mention entering the top 10, even entering the top 100 is probably very difficult. It can't be, right? Could it be that Sea Rebirth Realm experts are already everywhere? Qin Feng turned around and his gaze was slightly astonished. He guessed that after the Starlight Spirit Tide, there would be an explosion of geniuses, but it absolutely wouldn't be so exaggerated. You might not know, but the participants of the All-Star Martial Assembly this time aren't just the outer court disciples of All Stars College and Xingqian School. In addition, there are also representatives from various countries in the region of stars. There's actually such a thing. The one who spoke was Yang Qing. He had been listening attentively, and when he heard Yang Qing, he couldn't help but speak. Glancing at the former head of the White Tiger Academy beside her, Lu Qingxue nodded. A month ago, the various countries in the region of stars started the martial arts competition, from the main cities to the various countries. A few days ago, the geniuses of the various countries in the region of stars that participated in the martial arts competition have already arrived. The top geniuses of the various countries in the region of stars? Qin Feng's expression was shocked. The region of stars had a vast territory with abundant resources and outstanding talents. Qin Feng wasn't clear how many countries there were, but just the strongest high-rank empires alone were as many as 9. Unbelievable, the scale of this year's All-Star Martial Assembly is actually so large. Yang Cheng's gaze was shocked. Subsequently, seeming to have thought of something, Yang Cheng asked in bewilderment. But according to the usual practice of the past, All Stars College normally wouldn't invite the geniuses of these countries to participate, right? Although he didn't say it, Qin Feng had already guessed some of the reasons. It was just the phenomenon of the descent of the stars that caused Xingqian School to feel a sense of crisis. Xingqian School needed to rely on this all-star martial assembly to completely intimidate the various countries under its command. The other purpose was none other than to completely take in the geniuses of the world. Qin Feng praised in his heart. Xingqian School's action is really killing many birds with one stone. Not only can they use the All-Star Martial Assembly to intimidate the various countries that are restless because of the arrival of a golden era and the emergence of geniuses. If they perform well, they can even use this All-Star Martial Assembly to identify those great empires with ulterior motives and seize their geniuses to supplement Xingqian School, weakening the strength of these great empires to the greatest extent. But this is also extremely dangerous. If the geniuses of All Stars College and Xingqian School are unable to suppress the top geniuses of the various countries, then I'm afraid it will backfire. At that time, they'll be lifting a rock and smashing their own feet, and it might even cause a great shock in the region of stars. But if they succeed, then they'll be able to stabilize the region of stars that's gradually becoming chaotic because of the arrival of a golden era. They'll lay an incomparably firm foundation for the prosperity of the sect. Compared to obtaining benefits, some risks are insignificant. Chapter 387. The underground was spacious, and this seemed to be the exclusive passageway of All Stars College. Soon, Qin Feng and the others entered a public square in the Myriad Stars Arena. Many geniuses from various kingdoms were waiting to enter. From here, they could see most of the vast Myriad Stars Arena. Countless shouts and cheers soared into the sky. Walking in here, one's blood couldn't help but flow faster. Qin Feng looked up. The surrounding geniuses couldn't help but be excited, and their muscles tensed up. In the sea of cheers, even Qin Feng's spirit couldn't help but be affected, and his footsteps became lighter. At the entrance of the arena a few meters away, Qin Feng saw many experts holding up their signboards. Some of them were holding up their signboards. Cloud Water Empire, Dark North Empire, White Cloud Empire, Woods Empire. Empires' names appeared in front of them. Teams of geniuses from various empires were lining up and entering the arena. The teams of geniuses were clearly separated, and most of them had already entered. When Qin Feng and the others appeared, the 10 of them noticed and looked at them with blazing eyes filled with battle intent. These are the geniuses of All Stars College? They don't seem to be that strong? I heard from the teachers that All Stars College is so amazing. I thought that All Stars College would have geniuses among geniuses, but it seems like they don't live up to their name. There are actually so many extreme mortal realm cultivators. How disappointing! Many of them were looking at them with disdain, provocation, and disdain. The 10 of them looked at each other, and suddenly, the red-haired and red-browed Qi Ling spoke. Are these the so-called geniuses of the 9 great empires? I can see that they have a high cultivation level, but in fact, most of them cultivated by consuming elixirs. Their foundations are weak, and the quality of their true force is low. There are only a few divine ability auras on them. Such people dare to mock us? They are simply courting death. Qi Ling had a strong background. It was rumored that he was the youngest son of one of the 28 constellations Peak's elders. He was also a lawless person, and he was always the one mocking others. The words of the geniuses of the 9 great empires had completely infuriated him. He whistled as he looked at his good friend, Lu Tianjun, and said, "Don't worry. 6th brother, what do you think?" Lu Tianjun said stiffly, "They're just a bunch of country bumpkins who have never seen the world. There's no need to bother with them." "Who are you calling a country bumpkin? Try saying that again." The geniuses of the 9 great empires all came from extraordinary backgrounds. How could they be looked down upon like this? They immediately rolled up their sleeves. "Do you want to fight? We'll accompany you to the end. Today, we'll let you ignorant country bumpkins open your eyes and see how the people of All Stars College beat people up." Zhang Sun Wuya stood up. The 3 of them were part of the Xingqian School's gang. They were never afraid of getting into trouble and fighting. Some of the geniuses of the 9 great empires flew into a rage. A group of people surrounded the 10 people under the leadership of several young men. When the city gate caught fire, the fish in the moat would be implicated. Qin Feng frowned. Brother Qin, what should we do? Yang Qing moved closer to Qin Feng, looking as if he was the leader. Qin Feng turned his wrist slightly and said with a faint look in his eyes, "If they dare to make a move, we'll cripple them all." As soon as he said that, the 10 people looked over. Qi Ling-er, Lu Tianjun, and Zhang Sunhuia looked at each other. This guy was even more arrogant than them. The people of the 9 great empires couldn't hold it in anymore. Under the rising anger, they were ready to start a fight with bare arms. Seeing this, Lu Qingxue, Ling Dushu, Ji Huanger, Wan Jiani, and the others' faces turned cold. "Stop!" At this moment, a dignified and low voice was heard. Everyone turned around and saw 7 or 8 elders of All Stars College and a few experts with dignified expressions walking over. The one who spoke was a burly old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion. He was wearing the silver elder robe of All Stars College, but there was a circle of light golden embroidery in the sleeves. Qi Ling-er was unusually stubborn. When she saw the burly old man, she immediately shrunk her neck and quickly retreated to the group of 10. Zhang Sunhuia and Lu Tianjuan's faces changed. They pulled a long face and quickly retreated. The 10 people tensed up. They were very familiar with the burly old man in front of them. He was Elder Guiyuan, one of the 3 vice-deans of All Stars College, Guiyuan, Guiyexen, and Guiyun. This vice-dean usually had a high position and was in charge of many things of All Stars College. The burly old man glanced at the crowd, and his eyes fell on a black-robed old man who was walking side by side. "Master Wu, the juniors don't know any better. Sorry for making a fool of ourselves," the black-robed old man said indifferently. "It's fine. Young people are full of vigor. There are bound to be some bumps and bruises. We weren't at this age back then either. All Stars College's geniuses always have some unique performances." He looked at the 10 people with a faint smile. Qin Feng felt a chill on his skin. In the next moment, he turned around and led the people of the 9 great empires to the entrance. Qi Ling-er sneered and muttered, "What is this Master Wu? Is he trying to teach us a lesson by taking advantage of his seniority?" Qin Feng raised his head. "That Master Wu didn't. Moreover, even if he was 1,000 feet tall, in the eyes of an expert like the black-robed old man, it was just a piece of cake." The black-robed old man paused for a moment. In the next moment, he led the geniuses of the Wutz Empire into the arena. The burly old man glanced at the red-browed young man who was still arrogant and unruly. "Qi Ling-er, are you asking for a beating? Do you know who that Master Wu is?" Qi Ling-er sneered. "I don't care who he is. He is just a martial arts overlord. If my father were to fight him, he would be able to kill him with a slap." The burly old man sneered. "That old man is called Wu Guanghai. He is the descendant of the Wu family, an ancient reclusive family. He is also the uncle of the current emperor of the Wushan Empire. He is a true martial arts overlord. Don't be fooled by his nonchalant look. In fact, he will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. You have offended him. You have offended a martial arts overlord. Even if you are protected by your senior brother, if he wants to kill you, you will not be able to escape. Unless you return to Xingqian school now." "What?" Qi Ling-er's expression changed drastically. Qin Feng glanced at this guy and shook his head. "Your father is powerful, but that doesn't mean you are powerful. Even a rabbit will bite when cornered, let alone a martial arts overlord with a vicious heart. If he found a chance to kill you silently, it would be too late even if your father avenged you. Zhang Sunhuia and Heavenly Lord Lu were much more powerful than Wu Guanghai." The burly old man glanced at the 10 people sternly. "All right, you guys prepare yourselves. These people are indeed arrogant. They have forgotten the dignity of All Stars College after such a long time." The burly old man sneered. This time, All Stars College must suppress these geniuses from the 9 big empires. After saying that, the burly old man shook his head. He didn't have any hope for these new students. The main force was still the top geniuses from All Stars College. Chapter 388. The huge and spacious arena was filled with cheers and shouts. In front of the center of the arena was a silver rostrum. Behind the rostrum was the silver VIP area. Silver. This was the style of All Stars College. It represented nobility and eternity. This was the VIP area. Those who came were the royal families of various countries, the leaders of many big families, and the experts who came to watch. There was a large waiting area in the spacious arena. The prodigies of the 9 empires had already taken their seats and were waiting to enter the arena. Countless gazes were focused on this area. Every time an empire entered the arena, the host would introduce them. The last team to enter is All Stars College's team. Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise have a long history. This time, All Stars College has sent out 4 fourth-grade students. They are the top prodigies of each grade. Among them, there are peerless battle generals who have slaughtered innumerable people. There are future ambitious and ruthless people who dominate the world. There are also the youngest and most famous alchemists. They are the most peerless monsters in the realm of stars. Let us look forward to their performance. 4 neat teams appeared. The first to appear was Yu-Ji, the 4th-year expert of the All-Star Academy, who was also known as the Goddess of the Moon, Zhong Lin, the captain of the White Sun Battle Team, Kai Wu, the captain of the Liuli Battle Team, Ling Xuanhua, the current leader of the Sky Sea Pavilion, Tan Mingfeng, the leader of the 5 Elements Battle Team, Wang Daoi, the leader of the Absolute Beginning Battle Team. The second team was made up of 3rd-grade top prodigies. A few peerless prodigies wearing silver armor walked out, causing a frenzy. The third team was made up of 2nd-grade top prodigies. Lin Fei, Jin Rui, Zhang Xian, Battle King Ouyangyu, Fiery Lord Luo Lai, Bai Xianyue, Luo Junwang, Yi Yuming, and the others walked out from the side. The fourth team was made up of the new batch of prodigies. Qin Feng appeared at the front of the team and welcomed countless gazes. Qin Feng was expressionless. Behind Qin Feng were Vermilion Bird's first seat Ji Huang'er, White Tiger's first seat Qi Ling'er, Black Tortoise's first seat Lu Tianjun, Qian Kai, Ling Dushu, Zhang Sunwia, Wan Jiani, and the others. After the students of the Star Academy entered the arena, the atmosphere of the entire arena reached its peak. How lively! With an indifferent expression, Qin Feng's eyes scanned the surroundings. As a former demigod-level existence, Qin Feng could be considered to be experienced and knowledgeable. However, such a large-scale battle arena had opened Qin Feng's eyes. After entering the arena, it was as if they had arrived at a kingdom of gods and devils. This arena was like a giant mountain that had been moved here out of thin air, hollowing out the belly of the mountain. How could there be more than a dozen auras that were like scorching suns? This time, more than half of the 28 peaks of Xingchen School had come. On the rostrum, an elder who was acting as the host of the ceremony was speaking with fervor and assurance. Then, a few magnates were invited to give their speeches. Qin Feng sat on a chair and closed his eyes to rest. He didn't pay attention to what these experts were saying. The Chaos Fire Grand Divine ability had fused with the 13th Spirit Fire, the Extreme Een Spirit Fire, and its power had improved significantly. At this time, the immemorial poison flame in his body was being refined bit by bit. The immemorial poison flame's poisonous power was enough to kill a martial arts overlord, but it couldn't do anything to Qin Feng. The immemorial poison flame was a poison flame that was extremely evil. Qin Feng was indeed the ancestor of evil, and he also had the abyssal demon diagram, a divine diagram. Qin Feng had no less than a dozen methods to refine the immemorial poison flame. In addition, he had cultivated the primeval true power of void, so refining the immemorial poison flame was really not difficult. At this time, Qin Feng felt that the immemorial poison flame was already being refined into the Chaos Fire Grand Divine ability. When a top-grade spirit fire like the immemorial poison flame that was only a step away from the divine fire of heaven and earth was fused into the Chaos Fire Grand Divine ability, the power of the Chaos Fire Grand Divine ability was bound to undergo an earth-shattering change. Just as Qin Feng closed his eyes to rest, a beautiful woman in white sitting on a chair at the front of the VIP area frowned and looked at Qin Feng. "Why do I feel a familiar aura from this young man? Junior Sister Yen, what's wrong with you? Do you know that young man from All Stars College?" A gentle and magnetic voice sounded from the side. It was a handsome young man who was about 23 or 24 years old. He was dressed in golden clothes and had an indescribable noble aura. He had an extremely noble aura, a handsome face, and a gentle and affectionate gaze. This was an absolutely perfect man. Many girls around occasionally glanced at him from the corner of their eyes, revealing expressions of heartbeats. To be able to sit in the VIP area, the identity of the girls was undoubtedly different from ordinary girls. Regardless of identity, cultivation, talent, or vision, they were all different from ordinary girls. This man was undoubtedly perfect to be able to attract the attention of these girls. Sigh, if only young Master Xian would take a fancy to me. If I could follow him, I would be willing to sacrifice a few years of my life. Stop daydreaming. Who is Xian Wuji? He is the young sect master of the Qiankuan sect, the strongest genius in the history of the Qiankuan sect. He is the future sect master of the Qiankuan sect. At the age of 15, he cultivated one of the Qiankuan sect's true inheritances, All Laws Realm, and advanced to the Sea of Reincarnation Realm. Rumor has it that he is the reincarnation of a god. With such an identity, why would he take a fancy to a common girl like you? You said that I am a common girl. Compared to the number one beauty of the northern spiritual region, Bai Yen, what are you if not common girl? Hearing the name Bai Yen, all the girls lost their voices. Their gazes fell on the beautiful woman beside the golden-clothed young man. All the girls were in a daze. Not only was Bai Yen the number one beauty of the northern spiritual region, her martial talent was also outstanding. It was said that she advanced to the Sea of Reincarnation Realm half a year ago and was taken in by the current sect master of the Bailing sect. In many people's eyes, Bai Yen and Xian Wuji were publicly recognized as a golden couple. Furthermore, there was news from the Bailing sect that the Bailing sect had intentions of forming a marriage alliance with the Qiankuan sect. Together, they would restrict Xingqian school. Just like how many girls looked at Xian Wuji, there were even more who looked at Bai Yen. It was just that Bai Yen had Xian Wuji by her side. Due to Xian Wuji's reputation, no one dared to go up and greet her. Listening to the noise in her ears, Bai Yen's eyebrows slightly wrinkled as she looked at the young man resting on the stage. Bai Yen couldn't help but recall some unbearable experiences. A jade pendant that looked like it was broken appeared in her slender hand. Looking at the young man, Bai Yen had a feeling that he was most likely the person in her memory. Thinking about everything that happened in the cave, Bai Yen's beautiful face flashed with a trace of uncontrollable anger. Xian Wuji looked at Bai Yen's expression and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. His gaze landed on the young man in black. A trace of coldness flashed in his eyes, but Xian Wuji returned to his gentle and elegant appearance. He waved his hand and a man dressed as a follower walked over. Go and check who this person is. Is he related to Junior Sister Yen? Xian Wuji's gaze landed on the young man in black. After an unknown amount of time, Qin Feng felt that he had refined about 1/5 of the ancient poison flame in his body. Suddenly, a voice sounded in his ear. Junior brother Qin Feng, it's your turn. Chapter 389. Next up for the second arena is Xiaoling, a genius from the Ice Kingdom, a subsidiary of the White Cloud Empire. Xia Ling is a member of the royal family of the Ice Kingdom. He is extremely talented in martial arts and has practiced the Ice Emperor technique. He broke through the pulse condensation stage at a young age and condensed 36 Ice Emperor spiritual meridians. He has also mastered the Ice Emperor's 3 strikes, making him famous in the White Cloud Empire. And on the other side is the new first seat of the Azure Dragon Academy. This first seat was born in a humble family, but he swore to pursue the path of martial arts. He rose from the dust and entered the Myriad Star Academy. He suppressed the geniuses of his generation and held the first seat of the Azure Dragon Academy. The loud voice echoed in the arena. It was neither harsh nor soft, but the hundreds of thousands of spectators couldn't hear it. The MC's voice was full of passion. What's even more unbelievable is that Master Qin Feng is already a level 4 alchemist before the age of 15. He is now the chief alchemist of the Medicine King Hall of the All-Stars College and the peak master of the Tianqi Peak. What? A 15-year-old level 4 alchemist? Is there a mistake? Oh my god, is he a monster? In the VIP seat. A level 4 alchemist. His reputation is great, but his strength seems ordinary. The one who spoke was a beautiful lady. She was elegant and dignified with a plump figure, revealing a charming and mature aura. The Empress is right. The monarch of the Zijin Kingdom smiled while stroking his beard. It seems that this level 4 alchemist is in a bad situation. Xia Ling is a rare genius from the royal family of the Ice Kingdom. At the age of 15 or 16, he has practiced the Ice Emperor technique to the 16th level and condensed 36 spiritual meridians. He has already entered the Heaven Realm. This kind of talent is rare even among the many affiliated commanderies of the White Cloud Empire. Although this little guy called Qin Feng is a level 4 alchemist, it seems that he has only condensed 12 spiritual meridians. I'm afraid his strength is not enough. That's not necessarily true. Qin Feng was able to win the Hidden Dragon Points competition. His strength is definitely not as simple as it seems. The king of Great Yen Kingdom, Moonlight, glanced at the king of Zijin Kingdom and the enchanting and voluptuous queen of Zijin. Thinking about the rumors that were circulating in the Zijin Kingdom, his eyes revealed a trace of ridicule. Stupid fellow, no wonder he didn't even know that his son-in-law had cuckolded him. With disdain in his heart, the monarch of the Great Yen Kingdom had a strange look in his eyes. Some of the monarchs present also had pity in their eyes. The king of Zijin Kingdom was displeased. As the king of Zijin Kingdom, he had always been flattered by his ministers and concubines. He had never been rebuked like this before. In the arena, Qin Feng sized up his opponent. This was a young man with broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and long legs. He was dressed like a martial artist, and he didn't have the weak aura of a royal noble. He had an ice crystal sword at his waist, and his eyes were as cold as a frozen lake. With one look, one could tell that this person was the real deal. Xia Ling took a few glances at Qin Feng and said, "Head of Qin Feng, I have heard of your name. You are the most famous genius in this batch of Azure Dragon College students. You are very strong. To be able to stand out from a poor family and become a rank 4 alchemist, you must have had a fortuitous encounter, or have an alchemist grandmaster as your backer. However, to be able to become a rank 4 alchemist at such a young age, you must have spent most of your energy on the path of alchemy. Even if you have some strength, it should be because of the secret treasure that your teacher gave you," Xia Ling said leisurely. He was very calm as he slowly unsheathed the sword at his waist. Clang clang! A transparent ice crystal sword appeared from the scabbard, emitting cold air. This sword is called the Ice Emperor. This is the sacred sword of my frozen ice kingdom. Even if you lose to this sword, it will not be a disgrace to you," Xia Ling said confidently. He unsheathed the sword and pointed it at Qin Feng. The entire arena turned into a huge block of ice. Looking at this scene, some people in the audience gasped and said, "Xia Ling has actually cultivated the Ice Emperor's true body. This is the unique body refining method of the Ice Emperor in the Frozen Ice Kingdom. It requires the practitioner to cultivate in the eye of the frozen ice of the Frozen Ice Kingdom. He has to gather the essence of ice and snow day after day and integrate it into his body. The more he cultivates the Ice Emperor's true body, the stronger the cold air." Xia Ling froze the entire arena with a wave of his hand. "This kind of strength is probably the best among the warriors in the Heaven Realm. I am afraid that Qin Feng is no match for him." Although Qin Feng was in the arena, he still heard the conversation in the audience. Hearing about the Ice Emperor's true body, Qin Feng's eyes moved slightly. In the past, he had also met a strong warrior who had cultivated the ice attribute true body during the trial of Snow Region. It was an old ghost from the spiritual void sect who had come back from the dead. He called himself the Supreme Spiritual Void and wanted to cultivate the Ice Soul real body with the help of the Ice Soul Spring. Compared to the Ice Soul real body, the Ice Emperor's true body was actually inferior. At this moment, Xia Ling took the initiative to attack. Ice Emperor's 3 godly swords. Swish, swish, swish. Xia Ling slashed out 3 times in a row. These 3 slashes were very mysterious. They could split and converge. When they split, the sword light was like a torrential downpour. It surged from all directions, making it impossible to dodge. When they converged, the sword light was cold and clear, freezing everything. As soon as this move was made, it immediately attracted countless cheers from the spectators. "You do have some skills. However, no matter how strong your sword skills are, your true force is not pure. Even if you can hit your opponent, it will still be difficult to effectively kill him." With a faint smile, Qin Feng stretched out his finger and countless frost condensed on the arena. The sword light seemed to have hit the wall. His innate mystique, ocean control, had absorbed the Ice Soul Spring. Qin Feng also had the ability to control frost. Seeing that his sword move was blocked, Xia Ling was not surprised. He had absolute confidence that he could suppress this person. Extreme Ice Emperor Slash. Without seeing how Xia Ling moved, an extremely fine cold light swept across the void and appeared above Qin Feng's head in the next moment. The cold sword light had a trace of sword intent that could freeze everything. This sword seemed to have come to life. Qin Feng's soul faintly felt like it was being frozen. Interesting. This Xia Ling actually cultivated the Ice Emperor sword intent to the 5th level of Sword Dao, Law in Sword. Seems like he has used his trump card. This Xia Ling is interesting. He wants to defeat me, the head of Azure Dragon College, in one move and use my name to soar to the sky. Slightly surprised, Qin Feng sneered. An invisible light appeared in his palm. Dark North Godly Water Sword. In the next moment, Qin Feng's body suddenly appeared in front of Xia Ling, like a gust of wind. His eyes were clear. Qin Feng's void true force in his body suddenly overlapped 7 times and merged into the Dark North Godly Water Sword. Chaos Tide's 7th Sword. Although you have comprehended the state of sword has law, your true power's quality is too low, and is unable to pose a threat to me. But I am different, although I have not comprehended the state of sword has law, my strength can make up for everything I lack. My void true force can easily shatter your sword light and cut through your defense. Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a trace of sharpness. He suddenly swept his sword horizontally. A vast wave of sword light suddenly appeared on the stage. When the sword slashed out, the surrounding audience could even hear the sound of a surging tide. The bright sword light slashed at Xia Ling. Under Xia Ling's unimaginable gaze, the sword light that he was proud of was easily torn apart and slashed at Xia Ling's chest. Bang! The sound of a heavy object falling to the ground could be heard. A figure flew back from the void like a cannonball and landed below the stage in front of everyone's eyes. Poochie! Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Xia Ling lifted his head and stared at the black-robed figure in the arena with much difficulty. You! He raised his finger and pointed at the black-robed figure. His eyes flashed with shame and anger, and in the next moment, he fainted. Chapter 390. An elder stepped forward to check on Xia Ling's injuries and announced the result. First round, 7th match, Qin Feng wins. The frigid ice country's monarch hurried down from the VIP seating area and glanced at Xia Ling lying on the ground. At this time, there was a dent on Xia Ling's chest, and with this dent as the center, several of his ribs were broken and his internal organs were displaced. Without a period of rest, there was no way he could recover from this injury. A trace of dissatisfaction flashed in the frigid ice country's monarch's eyes as he raised his head to look at Qin Feng. All Stars College's genius, my frigid ice country has experienced firsthand. However, to be so heavy-handed, his conduct is despicable. This monarch's words are a little biased. As everyone knows, in a battle between cultivators, death is inevitable. According to monarch's words, should I stand still and let your son hack at me? Qin Feng looked at this overprotective monarch as if he was looking at an idiot. Vicious by nature and eloquent, is this the kind of genius from All Stars College? This monarch has learned something new. The frigid ice country's monarch sneered. He deliberately raised his voice to attract attention and suppress Qin Feng. I'm vicious by nature? Qin Feng was stunned, but in the next second, the corners of his eyes narrowed. Those who were familiar with Qin Feng knew that Qin Feng was truly enraged this time. I'll let you know what vicious by nature is. Qin Feng was so angry that he laughed instead. He turned around and his gaze fell on the various forces' patriarchs and monarchs on the VIP seating area. Circulating his true qi, Huang Xiaolong transmitted his voice to the various patriarchs and monarchs' ears. Any force or individual that can annihilate the frigid ice country will receive a favor from this monarch. This promise is valid at any time. Qin Feng's voice was indifferent, but when it entered the frigid ice country's monarch's ears, a chill ran down his spine. He was about to open his mouth to mock Huang Xiaolong. Right at this time, one of the monarchs in the VIP seating area spoke. Okay, Master Qin Feng, Heishui country will accept this favor. The king of the frigid ice nation looked towards the source of the voice, and his face paled. It was the king of the Black Water Nation. The Black Water Nation and the frigid ice nation bordered each other, and the Black Water Nation was much more powerful than the frigid ice nation. Originally, the Black Water country had no interest in this piece of land due to the extreme cold of the Frost country. However, Qin Feng's words moved Heishui Guo. A favor from a level 4 alchemist was not enough to put the Heishui country in danger. However, if this Tier 4 alchemist had the potential to become a Grandmaster alchemist, then it was enough to tempt people. The king of the frigid ice country's heart sank slightly as his gaze landed on Qin Feng. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Add my Qin kingdom to the list. Although the kingdom of freezing ice is bitter, Master Qin Feng's favor is valuable. The king of the Qin kingdom spoke with a smile, and a trace of a smile appeared between his brows. The other monarchs shook their heads. It was a pity that the kingdom of freezing ice only shared borders with the Qin kingdom, Heishui country, and a few other countries. They wanted Qin Feng's favor, but they did not have the chance. The king of the frigid ice country's limbs were cold, and a trace of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. If it was only the Heishui country, the frigid ice country would face great pressure, but he might not be afraid. However, if the Qin kingdom joined in, the frigid ice country would be in imminent danger. For the first time, the king of the frigid ice country felt a trace of regret. In this world, some people are busy living, and some people are busy dying. You are the third type, busy seeking death. Qin Feng walked down and glanced at the king of the frigid ice country. The surrounding gazes fell on the black-clothed youth who walked down the stage, and there was a trace of fear in their eyes. This guy was simply a madman. He did not care about the consequences or reputation, and directly tore apart all pretenses. In the elders' seating area. How tyrannical. He actually wants to destroy a country just because of a disagreement. This kid is too reckless. An elder's face was filled with displeasure. This was the elder of the Jiamu Peak, Yi Rulong. His aura was tyrannical, like a real divine dragon. It was very terrifying. Indeed, this kid's actions are too reckless. Such behavior is no different from a demon. No matter how strong his talent is, it will only bring harm to the sect. On the side, Elder Jin Min of the Kong Jin Peak also had a look of dissatisfaction. He was a cultured and refined old man with a Confucian crown. There was a righteous aura around him, and he was originally a scholar. Later on, he was persecuted and accidentally obtained an inheritance. Step by step, he entered the Xingqian school. When the other elder heard this, he sneered. What arrogance! Only the officials are allowed to set fires, but the common people are not allowed to light lamp. I don't know who it was that took a liking to the inheritance treasures of other sects, and ordered his disciples to annihilate more than 650 people. After the incident, he pushed the blame to the demon temple. He even dared to do such a thing, and he has the nerve to say that others are reckless. Su Chongqing, what do you mean? Yi Rulong stood up abruptly and glared at the elder who spoke. Elder Qing Mu sneered. Don't you understand what I mean? This Qin Feng is the chief alchemist of our Medicine King Hall. I won't allow others to accuse him. Moreover, this Frost King knows that Qin Feng is the chief alchemist of our Medicine King Hall and an inner disciple. Yet, he still dares to provoke him. He clearly has no respect for the dignity of our Xingqian school and wants to rebel. According to the information I have, this Frost King has colluded with the Qiankuan sect several times. So what if we annihilate the Frost King? Such a traitor who betrays Xingqian school, even 100 deaths wouldn't be enough. What, this Frost King really colluded with the Qiankuan sect? Some of the other elders frowned. If that's the case, the Frost King should be killed. Not only should the Frost King die, but the Frost King should also be killed. Seeing more and more elders expressing their opinions, Yi Rulong and Jin Min looked at each other, and a trace of gloom flashed in their eyes. Qin Feng returned to the waiting room. It just so happened that Ji Huang came over with a serious look on her face. Qin Feng, you're too impulsive. Although you vented your anger, I'm afraid you'll leave many excuses for others to attack you. Qin Feng's eyes moved as he raised his head to look at the red-clothed young lady. Junior Sister Ji, are you concerned about me? Who cares about you? Stop daydreaming. Ji Huang glared at the young man. Seeing the displeasure on the young lady's face, Qin Feng retracted his gaze and said, Junior Sister Ji, this is my personality. Whether they like it or not, whether they accept it or not, this is who I am. If they don't accept it, then I'll kill them until they do. As for whether they like it or not, that's Qin Feng's business. I, Qin Feng, will not make myself suffer for the sake of others. Being unbridled is my true nature. Being lawless and out of control is the nature of my bones. If anyone insults me or bullies me, I will directly fight back. I will crush their bones and completely crush their necks. As for whether I'll offend others or leave any evidence behind, that's not for me to consider. If I want to live, then I have to live vigorously. This is my nature, my martial will. You're indeed a lunatic. It's not wrong for them to call you lunatic Qin, Ji Huanger said as she looked at Qin Feng with her beautiful eyes. Forget it, since that's your nature, I won't persuade you. However, you have to be careful in the next round. Just now, I heard that some elders were very dissatisfied with you. Many of the elders seemed to want to train you. Chapter 391. As expected, it's him. He's still as overbearing and evil as before. Even his tone is the same. Bai Yan looked at the scene coldly and clenched her teeth. Qin Feng returned to his seat to rest. The next round was Qian Kai versus a genius from the Dark North Kingdom's Qi Shao County. The genius from the Qi Shao County was called Li Zhongshan. He had the cultivation of the mystical void realm. From afar, one could feel the killing intent from Li Zhongshan. He was obviously a veteran martial artist who had walked out from a pile of corpses. Such people were ruthless and merciless. They were experienced in killing and were hard to deal with. As the judge announced the start of the match, Li Zhongshan transformed into a tornado and rushed towards Qian Kai. With a slash, a gigantic tornado enveloped Qian Kai. Rumble! The entire stage was engulfed in the tornado. A black light flashed. Qian Kai coldly slashed the tornado and appeared behind Li Zhongshan without a sound. After a few months, it was Qin Feng's first time seeing Qian Kai in action. Once an expert took action, one would know whether he was skilled or not. Qian Kai's improvement was huge. Once he took action, his speed was extremely fast. Furthermore, he seemed to have some attainments in sword technique. The sword technique in his palm was like a venomous dragon. It appeared and disappeared unpredictably. One could only see its head and not its tail. Qin Feng stared at Qian Kai. Qian Kai's true power quality was extremely high. The quality was not inferior to the Heaven Dao grade. Under such a sharp and strange attack, the average mystical void realm martial artist was not his opponent. It was a pity that Li Zhongshan was not an ordinary mystical void realm martial artist. In terms of the comprehension of true power, he had an advantage that Qian Kai could not compare to. One slash cut through Qian Kai's entanglement. 13 blades of God wind. Li Zhongshan roared. His aura was like a dragon. In one breath, he slashed out 1,000 blades. The 1,000-blade images transformed into 13 blades. Rumble! 13 gigantic tornadoes howled on the stage. He actually has such a dense blade intent of the God wind. Seeing this, Qin Feng was surprised. To slash out 13 blades in one breath, it was enough to see Li Zhongshan's cultivation in the blade Dao. He had slashed out thousands of sabers in one go, and then condensed those thousands of sabers into 13 sabers. This kind of power was godly. If he could combine thousands of sabers into one saber, even a martial arts giant would have to retreat. Qian Kai was caught in a tough battle. Tornadoes filled the sky and howled in the arena. This kind of saber technique was too ferocious. Its momentum was like a rainbow, and Qian Kai kept retreating. Although Qian Kai was retreating under the saber light, he was very calm. His footsteps were fast but not chaotic. He calmly dealt with the attacks and even occasionally struck out with his sword. Qin Feng nodded inwardly. Qian Kai was indeed powerful. Under such a violent attack, he could still fight steadily and persistently. Although Li Zhongshan's saber technique was powerful, it consumed a lot of yuan qi. If Qian Kai could withstand this round of attacks, the situation would be completely reversed. After dozens of attacks, just as Qin Feng expected, Li Zhongshan couldn't bear such continuous attacks, and his speed began to slow down. Qian Kai was the first to notice the change in Li Zhongshan, and his eyes lit up. Shua! A sword light pierced out like a dark dragon. The sword light instantly tore through Li Zhongshan's chest. Bastard! Li Zhongshan glanced at the long sword that went straight into his chest. He was like a violent lion. He raised his head and roared, and slashed at Qian Kai's head with his saber. Li Zhongshan was forced to unleash his potential. Countless saber shadows gathered into 12 sabers. What? Qian Kai didn't expect Li Zhongshan to explode at this time. He was caught off guard, and his whole body was exposed to the overwhelming saber light. His face changed slightly. His body seemed to have turned into countless black shadows, like a fallen leaf drifting among the 12 saber light. This was an extremely profound movement technique. Such an extraordinarily fast speed dazzled everyone's eyes. A moment later, Qian Kai appeared in the same place with a pale face. Pucci! Li Zhongshan suddenly spat out a mouthful of black blood. His breath was gray and the corners of his mouth were black. He looked at Qian Kai with anger. Your sword is poisonous? In the next moment, Li Zhongshan started to sway. With a clank, his long saber fell to the ground, and in the next moment, he fell to the ground. It's not that the sword is poisonous. It's that he cultivated poison. Qin Feng's gaze fell on Qian Kai, and his eyes revealed a trace of astonishment. If he had just swallowed the immemorial poisonous flame, Qin Feng would definitely have noticed that Qian Kai cultivated such a pure poison true power. At this moment, the referee walked up and checked on Li Zhongshan's injuries. He stood up and announced, Li Zhongshan is unconscious. I announce Qian Kai's victory. A group of people hurried over from the side. The people from Qi Shao Prefecture hurriedly carried Li Zhongshan out. The leader of the Qi Shao Prefecture team glanced coldly at Qian Kai. The people from All Stars College are indeed worthy of their reputation. The previous one exterminated a clan, and this one actually used despicable method. I have learned something new. The successful one is looking for a direction, while the defeated one is looking for an excuse. Qi Shao Prefecture is also a big country, and the leader is actually so ignorant. Qian Kai sneered, and a trace of coldness flashed across his eyes. Qin Feng could see it clearly. It was obvious that Qian Kai had already marked the people from Qi Shao Prefecture. You, the leader of the Qi Shao Prefecture team, was also a person with status. He was usually high and mighty, and when had he ever been contradicted by a junior? He was instantly enraged. This reincarnation realm expert's aura fluctuated, and he was about to explode. A stream of light flashed, and the elder who acted as the referee flew down. A terrifying aura suppressed everyone as he spoke indifferently. On the martial arts stage, it's unavoidable to be injured. Moreover, it was already said before the competition that as long as it's not against the rules and the use of forbidden techniques, all methods are allowed. The person in charge of the Dark North Prefecture walked over and glanced at the leader of the Qi Shao Prefecture team. A loss is a loss. Don't embarrass yourself here. This expert swept a glance at the group of young geniuses from All Stars College, and his eyes revealed a trace of coldness before he turned and left. It seems like the 9 empires are indeed a little dissatisfied with All Stars College. When Qin Feng saw this scene, a trace of surprise flashed across his eyes. Qin Feng wasn't surprised. Xingqian School was above the domain of stars and controlled many countries and empires. These empires were all colossal forces with a strong foundation. They naturally wouldn't be resigned to having a retired emperor above them. Rather than saying that the Xingqian School was the one who set up this martial arts tournament, how could the 9 empires not want to use this opportunity to test Xingqian School? Qin Feng felt a kind of pressure. As a disciple of All Stars College, if All Stars College suffered a loss, no eggs would remain intact when the nest was overturned. Next, Ji Huang Lu Qingxue Qi Ling Zhang Sun Huia Yang Qing, Wan Jiani, Lin Fei Jin Rui, and the others left the stage one after another. The result was somewhat out of Qin Feng's expectations. In this round, Qi Ling Yang Qing and Wan Jiani were all eliminated. These people had all encountered formidable opponents. In the 9 empires, a batch of peak geniuses gradually surfaced. These geniuses were actually all at the sea of reincarnation realm. Some of their strength wasn't inferior to many of the peak inner court disciples of Xingqian School. Seeing this scene, many Xingqian School elders frowned. The situation was a little out of control. They didn't expect that the 9 empires were actually hiding so many young geniuses. Qin Feng didn't pay attention to this. Not long after, his second match arrived. Standing on the stage, Qin Feng looked at the yellow-clothed youth not far away and felt the undisguised, surging aura of a Sea of Reincarnation realm expert. Qin Feng's face was gloomy, and a huge pressure appeared in his heart. This was indeed a tough nut to crack. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.